Square is buried deep into the culture of Japan. Originally a spin-off from Masafumi Miyamoto's father's Powerline construction firm, for over 30 years its games have helped power the rise of Japanese games development. There are no shortage of games that live under the Square Enix banner, but none as big as Final Fantasy. Square is buried deep into the culture of Japan. Originally a spin-off from Masafumi Miyamoto's father's Powerline construction firm, for over 30 years its games have helped power the rise of Japanese games development. There are no shortage of games that live under the Square Enix banner, but none as big as Final Fantasy. From our Western perspective, there's an air of mythos around the company. The accepted truth behind the series' title is that it was named Final Fantasy as it was Square's make-or-break game to avoid impending bankruptcy. And even if the real answer has more to do with creating an acronym that could be pronounced by both Eastern and Western audiences, it's that first story that gets told. That's the legacy of this series. Stories about adventures that get passed from generation to generation, as nearby as the arcades of Akihabara and as far as the playgrounds of Europe. As the Final Fantasy series has moved from numeral to numeral, there have been high points and low, but with each new game comes the promise of a new story, a new myth. The story of what happened with Final Fantasy XIV is one such myth. What we know about it comes from old reviews, archived message board threads, and through conversations with those who were there. The reason for this is that the original version of Final Fantasy XIV doesn't exist anymore. Unlike the vast majority of other old games, there is no way of playing it. It was redacted, painted over. Where once stood a game that threatened to sink the Final Fantasy brand forever, now stands the second most popular subscription MMO in the world. And as the years pass us, the myth of that original version and its incredible redemption story are at risk of disappearing. How did it all happen? How did the same studio that shipped a broken mess turn it all around in 2 years?
How you feeling?
Why did they make the decision to keep the old version still alive while secretly working on a brand new game? And how did they manage to make all of this, the redesign and rebirth, part of the game's lore? We knew this was a story worth telling, not only for those who were there to see it all go down, but for the millions of you who have never heard about this, who never knew the extraordinary lengths the development team went to save this game.
I'm doing
So
all
we
right
did
so
just
far.
that. Pack your bags, friends. No Clip is heading to Tokyo.
Pretty good. Ate some pizza. It was a nice break. What did you do?
Hello and welcome to Shinjuku, Tokyo, home of Godzilla, restaurants full of dancing robots, and Square Enix, one of the most prolific video game companies in the world. For the past few months I've been playing catch-up with this story, playing the latest version of the game, talking to players, and watching community retrospective series like the Speakers Network's fantastic Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. My goal, to make sure we asked the right questions when we sat down with the team. During our time here in Shinjuku, we're going to talk to everyone from the engineers
I
who
noticed
worked on
that
the
too.
original game,
I turned it
to
down a little bit
localization
already.
leads, community managers, and even the CEO of the company, all to allow them the opportunity to tell their side of this fascinating story. The fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV happened in real time in front of millions of people around the world. But we wanted to know about this story from an entirely new perspective, from inside the corporate machine that made it happen, that led to its terrible launch and ultimately its incredible rebirth.
Yeah, sadly it's my last day off for quite a while.
My name is Michael Christopher Koji-Pongs. I am the English localization lead for Final Fantasy XIV. My middle name being Koji. It's not something I gave myself. It's a name my father gave me. My father was stationed in Japan for 2 years in the Navy when he was young. Went back to the States. My mom had me. They wanted to give me a Japanese name. The family was having none of that, so they kind of snuck it in the middle name. But then they always called me Koji, and so I guess the joke was on the rest of the family. My dad being in the Navy didn't really learn a lot about Japan, other than he really liked Japan, but didn't learn any of the language. So I always knew that my name was Japanese, but beyond that, I really didn't know anything about Japan. But there was always that little seed in there. And then when I got into high school, there's a Japanese class, and I like games. Oh, they make games in Japan. Hey, let me study Japanese. If I study Japanese, I can play all those cool Japanese games that never come out over in America. And it kind of just snowballed from there. When I graduated from high school, I took a trip to Japan for 3 weeks, homestay type of thing, and I fell in love with it. And during that period, I got to visit a lot of schools and a lot of English classes in those schools. And I thought, wow, I know English, I could do this, will be easy. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, but I studied a couple years at a university in America, then transferred over to Japan, started over 4 years at a university in Japan.
Wow.
Got my teaching license, and yeah.
It's hard work being a teacher.
Yes, I mean, I loved it, but I mean, it was very draining, and that's why pretty much after you'd go to school 6 in the morning for morning
Oh, I am
basketball
having a
practice,
great time
'cause
as
I was the
always.
basketball coach, because as my principal said, hey, you're tall, you're the basketball coach. Then you'd get into classes. I mean, I'd have my homeroom class, then I'd have 6 or 7.
I mean, streaming and
other
watching
classes,
streams is the only way I'm really
teaching.
getting.
After
I
school,
really
all
get
of
to
a
talk
sudden,
to other
there's
people.
After school basketball, and then you'd get home.
Or people other than my
wrecked.
parents.
So I was really, always at school every day. It was very draining, and I would go home and I would play FF11. It was how I was able to relax, and being able to go into my little room and turn off the lights and put on my headphones and get into that world of Vana'diel was something that helped me escape from the stress. And then it just happened to be, one day I was online, checking for 11 related information, and I saw that Square Enix was hiring, looking for a translator, and it just kind of, wow, that would be really cool.
Koji wasn't alone. Final Fantasy XIV was launched in 2010, but the story of this game starts 8 years earlier with the launch of Final Fantasy XI, Square's first MMO, the early days of online. Many of the team who worked on 14 started on 11.
One of those was Kasuga-san, who joined the company in 1999 to build the network infrastructure for this fledgling MMO.
Cool.
自分はネットワークとサーバー担当で入っていて、なので一番最初にやっていたのが、当時プレイステーション2で初めて、厳密にはドリームキャストがその前にあるんですけれども、プレイステーションプラットフォームとしてはオンライン要素が入った初めての時期だったので、プレイステーション2でネットワークを作るために、TCP/IP のドライバーを作ったりとか、まだ当時モデム通信の時代だったので PPP 通信とか、あと ADSL がちょうど普及し始めた時期だったんで、ADSL の認証として使われた PPPoE とかっていうその本当にネットワークの下の部分、今だとあんまし誰も書かないようなところを書くっていう担当で入社してます。
I mean, yeah, it's become quite a lot more important in the last few months.
スクエアエニックスって言いますか、スクエアが初めて、オンラインのあれだけの規模の、MMORPG 日本でやるってのは本当初めてだったんで、いやもう
Hey Dennis, how are
いろん
you?
なことがありましたけどね。こんな言っちゃっていいのかな？言っちゃっていいの？OK なの？いいんだ。まずね、どういうことがあったかというと、あの時はMMO とかね、ファイナルだったりウルティマとかそういった先行事例があるんで、基本的に PC ですよね。で、俺らがだからコンシューマー機でやるなんてもう無謀の極みだとかってね、もうたくさんそういうふうに言われました。ソニーさんがPS2 のハードディスク DD キットなんかもですね、もう何台出すんだとか何台出すんだとか。
One thing I notice now is that we don't get subtitles for the Japanese in this.
よく言われてましたよ、実際に。
With media share.
11 was my first MMO I hadn't played. One before, I remember purchasing the PlayStation 2 broadband unit because they were all sold out. I ended up paying double on like some Yahoo auction or something like that.
And yeah, Dennis.
Ridiculous, but I had to play it. We got a new internet.
You're another
Actually,
one
we
that
were
gets
on
a new
regular
name
modem
almost
at that
every
time,
day.
but because we need a new modem, we had to upgrade to ISDN 128. But yeah, it was definitely worth it. It was something that was completely new to me, but fascinating. And ever since then, I've been into MMOs. That was the gateway drug for me, going in from FF11 and then trying some of the Western MMOs as well, getting into World of Warcraft, seeing the differences between the two.
Personally, I think it's very different. Here in Japan from the Western market because, it is for everyone in the globe. It's very first MMORPG on the console, PlayStation 2, and also, it was the first ever cross-platform MMO between PlayStation 2 and the Xbox 360. The obvious one is the most Japanese people don't really like to chat in public.
Right.
So, in the world, there's a lot of characters, but it's very quiet because people are using a tell instead of say or shout. But if you go to the Western world, game world,
Well, I'm glad you're having a good time.
Around it. So that's a huge difference.
While in the West you have your EverQuests and your Ultima Onlines, in Japan there was none of that. And then so Final Fantasy XI was really one of the first MMOs in Japan. And so getting to work with basically the pioneers of the Japanese MMO was really exciting. On the other hand, you could also say that it was possibly kind of a curse in the sense that they were all, doing their own thing. They had their vision of what an MMO should be and what a Japanese MMO should be. And then me, again, not having played an MMO before, getting on this team and thinking, okay, this is an MMO and kind of way and working on that project, I kind of, started thinking, okay, this is what an MMO is, this is what an MMO is. And then
I'm glad you're here too. You're a nice person to talk to.
Seeing the differences between the two and saying, okay, what I thought was the norm in Final Fantasy XI, the grinding for 20 hours to go up one level and then only to have your level drop when you pull too many crabs and it kills you and you've lost 5 hours work. I thought that was normal, and then that's not normal, is it? The Japanese base game, Final Fantasy XI, had already released, and they were working on the first expansion, Rise of the Zalard. I was part of the team that was working to get the base game and Rise of Zalard all translated before the Japanese Rise of Zalard was finished, so we could all release at the same time.
Right. Did you get it on time?
Got it on time. I haven't missed a deadline yet. It's one thing I'm proud of.
Final Fantasy XI was a huge success for Square Enix. It established a concurrent user base of around 250,000 players for years. It was the most profitable Final Fantasy game ever, and at one stage was the 6th most popular game on all of Xbox Live. More than that, it established the Japanese style of MMO, and when the decision was made in 2005 to start work on a sequel, the new MMO was built around things that made 11 successful, focusing, like most Final Fantasy games do, on beautiful graphics and an interesting battle system. This new game was to be directed and produced by the same duo that shipped 11, series veteran Hiromichi Tanaka and Nobuaki Komodo.
Thank
Final
you.
Fantasy
It's nice
XIV
of
was
you to say
announced for
that.
Windows and PlayStation 3 in 2009. Behind the scenes, the development team was struggling to put the pieces of its new world together.
まあ、ファイナルファンタジー14のその最初のバージョンの、自分が見た時の一番大きな問題で、最終的にそれが問題だったと考えているのは、最初のコンセプトとしてプランナーがスクリプトを書くことによってゲームを作っていこうで、利点としては、プランナーが考えて自分たちでリソースを振って高速な開発ができる。要はそうじゃないと基本的にはプランナーさんものを考えて開発者にエンジニアに相談してどう実装するかを決めてで、ゲームデザインをする人はそのどういうパラメータをいじりたいかとか相談しながら
I really hope you're gonna enjoy your time here in the future as well.
そこの部分に関してスクリプトを導入すると自分で考えて自分で実現することができるっていう発想でゲーム実装の大半がスクリプトで組まれてたんです。でそのスクリプト UI の問題もそうなんですけれどもゲームも UI も基本的にはスクリプトで書かれていてでスクリプトを動かすエンジン側がかなり負荷が高いとか CPU をたくさん使わないと動かない状態になっているので、ちょっとした何かをするだけでもゲーム内で少し何かをするだけでも非常に CPU リソースを使うことになっていて、すぐにサーバーが回るサイクルが遅くなっていくっていうことが問題としてです。結果としてそのサーバーでできることは少ない、あとゲームとしてサーバーで実現できるところは少ないですし、何かしようとすると負荷が上がっちゃうので、じゃあそれを回避するためにどうしようとかっていうことで、結果的にそのゲーム内容としてリッチなものが実現できなくなっているっていうことが起きましたので、UI もスクリプトで組まれていたので、なんかちょっと処理するだけでもすごい時間がかかるっていうような問題が発生しています。
Like I mentioned before, again, localization being in a position where we get to see all the parts come together first, we were some of the first to realize that Houston, we have a problem in that type of situation. I mean, you had the battle team, they're like, yes, we have this great battle system, with stamina and these things that you can do. And then you had the story team, yes, we have this story. Oh, hey, we have these guild leads, all of these parts, and everyone was really, really proud of their parts. Look at this grass, it's so beautiful. Look at this barrel, it's the most beautiful barrel ever to be represented in graphical form.
It's got as many polygons as the character.
Yes, and all of those parts, all of these teams, again, very, very proud of their work. I mean, you have, the team was put together some of the best minds in Square Enix. You had people that were leads that could probably even lead their own projects were all come together, and it became a lot of just tiny little groups making something that was really great. But once you put it together, it was kind of a mess, and no one really knew that except for localization and probably QA as well. And we were like, okay, we need to do something. But by then it was one of those, it's kind of too late to do anything. But for us, we would be looking at the text, and some of it, it wouldn't make sense, or it would just be very bland. And thinking, if there's any way to make this game better, what can we do? It's like, well, I can take this text and maybe add some more stuff into it, add some more flavor to it, and maybe that will distract people from the fact that the battle is not that fun.
At a fundamental level, the piecemeal design of the game was causing problems. Graphics were inconsistent. While many elements of the world were copy and pasted ad nauseum, some environmental objects had as many polygons and shaders as a character model. The battle system was just confusing. The game didn't have elements fundamental to most modern MMOs, things like jumping, auto-attack, and the ability to interact with the map using a mouse. It had a system that nerfed hardcore players to make sure they didn't level up too fast. The UI was confusing, crafting was incredibly complex and took forever, and simply there just wasn't enough content. The closed beta wasn't going well. They needed needed more time to fix these problems, so the open beta was pushed back to within a month before launch. The team knew there were problems, and they were getting frustrated.
今まで話していた仕事っていうのは大体その2010年の4月から、実際にリリースされる 8月ぐらいまでの間にやっていたことで、ゲームが本当に良くないっていうのがこう、みんなに認識されて自覚されていくっていうのはベータが始まって製品版が始まってっていう、
I mean,
8月9月10月ぐらい
I didn't really try to be honest.
なんですね。で、実際にはこうチーム内の意識としてもリリ
Or it
ー
didn't really have
ス
any
前
chance
そのベー
to.
タが始まる前から本当にこれをリリースしていいものかどうかっていう議論はある程度そのチーム全体でオフィシャルであったわけではないですけれども、開発者の中ではやはりその世に出していいクオリティかどうかっていうところは議論がありました。
When 1.0 was getting made, was the mentality that, oh, we're not like, that's like their thing, and we have our very own successful thing over here, we're going to just make another one of those?
And that's really what it felt like, is that we're going to continue doing what we did because it succeeded before, why wouldn't it succeed again? And seeing that direction, them taking that direction, and knowing that, having worked on 11, that yes, they were very successful, seeing the success that they had with Final Fantasy XI, seeing these great creators, creating something that was, revolutionary. But then on the other hand, knowing that what they were doing was, but maybe that might not, that worked 6 or 7 years ago, but a lot of things have changed since then. And I think there was even one guy on the localization team that got to that point where he just got so frustrated. He just wrote this scathing mail and sent it out to the whole team before telling anyone else on localization he was going to write it. And then we all get it at the same time, the devs team. We're reading it, it's like, wow, this is really terrible. I hope he doesn't, he sent it to the whole team. Because he just got really frustrated because he could, to him, they were being very stubborn. They weren't, they hadn't moved on. Whereas the rest of the world had moved on and adapted, with the release of WoW and what they had done. Whereas, the team here was like, no, we're going to stick with what we know, and that's good enough.
Then start feeling more concerning the situation. Is it not fixed? Not fixed? Not fixed? You announced the launch date, but it's not fixed. So, but still, some major portion of people are still thinking, believing, no, it's better, still better. Last phase, but still better. So it could be, fixed or changed at the launch.
Kind of went from,
I get what you mean.
Thinking, okay, this project's going to be great, to, there might be some problems. Can we fix them? Can we fix them? Okay.
But like I said, I wasn't.
Is there anything we can do? I don't know.
Never really in a position to make any friends.
It was very taxing.
The team crossed their fingers in hope that the game's beta problems were simply that, the same issues that most MMOs have, ones that could be fixed with patches once the game entered
I just
live
worked, played
operations.
single-player
and so
games,
Final Fantasy
watched
XIV
YouTube, and
Online
went to
launched
bed.
on September 30th, 2010.
And that
it
was
sold
my
well
day.
its first week, and after a month, had over 600,000 players swarming into its world. But it didn't take long for the cracks to appear. The problems in the
Pretty
beta
much
were
every
echoed
day
by
after
new
school.
players. The game was sluggish, the servers crashed,
Or after
and the
I left
Eorzeans
school.
quickly ran out of things to do. Quests were limited, and the fatigue system even made grinding for XP next to impossible. Critics ate it alive too.
Let's get right down to it. Unless you've got the patience of Job or some kind of masochist, you shouldn't play Final Fantasy XIV. Its problems are so vast that I could spend hours talking about them. The awful interface, the recycled content, the stringent limits on questing, the useless maps, the stupid market ward, these issues and dozens more constantly have you asking that age-old question, what were they thinking?
So, what was it like seeing public reaction?
Yeah, it was very, very disheartening, because you'd want to look at those and you'd want to say, no, they don't understand, they didn't know, what's going on here, or but deep down, you'd know they were right, and that was what kind of, that dagger in your heart and it's twisting, because you want to defend what you work on. The people that I worked with are the greatest people. I still, work with a lot of them. I'd worked with them before in FF11. I consider them not only coworkers but friends. But and then you see people online, bashing the work they did, and I know how hard they worked. I know how many hours they put in. I know that, like, in the last 3 or 4 months, people were basically living at work, all putting their 100% into this game that was, destined to kind of crash and burn. And then to have people online just say, "Oh, that sucks. This person is a piece of shit," or "Their work is terrible." It hurts, but it hurts more because if I was not here and was a user and had played that game, I probably would have said the same thing.
そうですね。当時もね、私はCFO やってたんで見てたんですけれども、ローンチのタイミングやっぱり一番大きく違ったのは11の時のいろいろごたごたねと。
Well, yeah, and I am thankful for Teresa because she basically convinced me to start streaming.
いろいろごたごたあったけど、ゲームに関して言うと、さすがに相当やっぱり相当程度やっぱり受け入れ相当のやっぱり評価されたんですよね。で、オペレーション上のねトラブルとかっていろいろ多分あるって、これはある程度つきもので、大変だったんですけれども、それはあったんですけど、ゲーム内容に関して言うと非常に評価されたというふうに。
First just on Discord, and later I started on Twitch. So yeah.
私はちょっとまずいなこれと思ったのはやっぱりゲーム自体の評価が非常に厳しいものだったということですね。これはちょっとやっぱり相当大丈夫かなというのを
It's basically all thanks to her.
やっぱりそこはね非常にリアルな話ですね。これはそうですね。そしてしばらくそんなに長いっていうのはなかったですね。そういうしばらくやっぱり相当なこのままで大丈夫なのかという社内でも相当なことがありました。
I mean, the first few months was just an endless stream of translating apology mails from producers and directors and finding out, trying to figure out different ways of saying we're sorry, because the more you say it, the less weight it has. But Japan being a country where people apologize a lot, that's part of the culture. But then trying to translate that, it's like, okay, this is the 10th time I've said sorry in this one post, and then from the American myself, it's like, yeah, people are going to look at that as insincere. The more you apologize, the more insincere. And then
Another
trying to
TS
explain
moment.
that to the team, it's like, no, we have to apologize. It's like, yes, you have to apologize, but and it just became we weren't talking about the game anymore. We were talking about how to translate apologies, and it seemed like that lasted for a couple months.
Actually, we see a huge drop. I mean, right after the launch timing, we got some good number of the subscribers. Then that fall. I mean, as you can imagine. So I mean, it was failure, and we announced a failure. So we see lots of decline.
さっきも話した通り、実際にはその開発内でも今リリースするっていうか、リリースできるクオリティにあるかっていうのはベータ直前とかベータが始まってもそうなんですけど、常に疑問はあったので、リリースして実際にただそれまでにチーム内にあった空気はやはり出したら意外と受け入れられる可能性があるんじゃないかっていう漠然とした出せばどうにかなるのかも、自分たちが思っているほど悪くないのかもっていう何の根拠もない希望的なものがあったんですよ。で出た結果結局そんな魔法は起きなくて、やはり自分たちが感じている通りにまだ世に出すには早いというか、世に出せるクオリティに達していない商品を出してしまったっていう気持ちはみんなにあったので、実際に改善しなきゃっていうか根本的に対応しなきゃいけないっていうところはチーム内に割とすぐ広がったと思ってます。なので特にすごいそんなことはないっていう意見がすごく強くあって、誰かを説得しなきゃいけないみたいなことは特になかったです。
Yeah, she has shown some IRL stuff going on right now, so she won't be streaming for a while, sadly.
Today, Square Enix is based across multiple floors in a modern office complex in Shinjuku, Tokyo. It's a company that is often designing multiple projects at once, and while Final Fantasy XIV was being developed, in another part of the building a different game was being made, produced by a Final Fantasy fan, his name, Naoki Yoshida.
一番最初はファミリーコンピューターUS だとエンターテインメントシステムかのマリオブラザーズが一番最初にプレイしたゲームです。とにかく テレビの中、テレビっていうのはその見るものだと思っていた子供の時に。ところがそのマリオブラザーズで初めてそのコントローラーを握ってゲームをプレイした時に、まずそもそもテレビのものを自分が自由に動かせるっていうことがものすごいショックで、友達の家でプレイさせてもらったんだけど、ものすごい興奮したのを覚えてます。ドラゴンクエストっていう日本で RPG を大きく広めたタイトルを初めて触った時に、アクションではないゲーム、数字のやり取りでこんなにまたさらにゲームが面白くなるんだっていうのを、特にストーリーラインがあってっていう
Hey Zodiac, hey Mobzilla.
また次のカルチャーショックを受けて RPG っていうジャンルにものすごくフォーカスしていくことになったかなとは思います。当然その翌年に出たファイナルファンタジーにもその映画的なその演出、ファンタジーをより強く打ち出したっていうところにもすごい衝撃を受けてたんで、やっぱり僕の中でドラゴンクエストとファイナルファンタジーっていうのはすごい大きかったですね、当時。
Like most Japanese players at the time, Yoshida-san played all the early Final Fantasy games. He holds them in high regard, though he still holds the bitter memory of not being able to save before the last dungeon in Final Fantasy III. But when he was 11 years old, a brand new type of gaming experience arrived at home. His uncle gave him a PC. On this PC, the young gamer learned how to program BASIC. His first video game centered around trying to break into a bank vault. But this PC also exposed him to a spectrum of gaming that eluded most Japanese
we're driving
players.
trucks today.
Western role-playing games. He fell in love with games like Diablo and was stunned when he first went online and played with other players.
でその翌年にウルティマオンラインをベータからプレイし、先輩に
What are you
とに
playing?
かくすげえゲームあるって言われて、ウルティマオンラインをベータから始めたのが初めてメモをプレイした作品で、やっぱり同じようなその3回目の
And Ophelia handing out all of the photos today.
が同時に一つの世界で遊ぶっていうのがもうとてつもないまた衝撃でした。まあウルティマは本当に自由度のウルティマオンラインは特にとにかく初期は自由度がめちゃくちゃ高いゲームだったので、そのいわゆるロードの称号をつけたそのって言ったらいいのかな、すごく紳士的なというかコミュニティリーダー的プレイをするキャラクターと完全に悪のプレイヤーキラーをやるキャラクターを2つ作って、どっちもものすごい遊んでたし、やっぱりその MMORPG っていうゲームがどう作られているのか、どういったエンジニアリングが必要なのかっていうのもものすごいそこで勉強させてもらったと思います。もうその頃からコンソールと同じぐらいの比重で PC でゲームをかなり遊ぶようになってたので、
I've really missed out on quite a lot,
パーツ買って組み立てたりしてたし、やっぱりそのあたりで FPS もかなりプレイし始めてたし、特に 3DMMO のスタートであるエヴァクエスト、その後プレイし始めて、当時エヴァクエストのパッケージを日本で手に入れるのが本当に大変で、出張で東京に来た時に秋葉原をね時間を作ってゾンビのように店をこううろうろして、エヴァクエストってゲームないですかね、エヴァクエストってないですかって。
Yoshida-san would embark on a career in games that would eventually see him joining Square Enix to work on the Dragon Quest series.
I
Though he
am on a
wasn't working on
controller.
the Final
I don't
Fantasy
own a
team,
steering wheel.
He was part of the umbrella group that was allocating programmers to various projects. He didn't have granular visibility on FF14, but he knew the team was struggling. I asked from his perspective as a producer where he thought the game's problems were coming from.
Or flat stick, I would be using that too if I had one for all the games.
クリスタルツールズって呼ばれるミドルウェアを全社で作ろうとしていたので、腕のいいプログラマーが全部そのチームに各なんだろうゲームラインから招集されて、そのメインプログラマーがみんないないっていう状態になってしまったので、
Well, I don't really have the space problem, more just the money problem.
まあオリジナルの14がああなってしまった理由の一つでもあるかなと思います。さらに2つ大きな問題が
I guess I could throw them on throne if you would want me to.
スクエアエニックスその全体にプレイステーション2のジェネレーションで本当に世界一クオリティグラフィックスのクオリティが高い そしてゲームエクスペリエンスがものすごく
Good
詰まっ
luck,
たゲームっていうのを
Mobzilla.
たくさ
Hope you have a
ん
good time.
リリースしたので、本当にこうなんていうんだろう、ある意味自信過剰にもうなっていた時期で、自分たちが世界一だし、自分たちのグラフィックスこそが世界一だし、その作り方はその自分たちにしかできない。だからなんだろう、でも超巨大な成功体験ってやっぱり足かせというかにもなる例だと思うんですよね。ものすごく思ってた、悪い言い方をすれば思ってた時期だったと思うんですよ。まず例えると、その刀を作る刀匠のような職人たちが本当にたくさんいて、彼らが一つずつを手作りで作って世界一のクオリティを作り上げていたんだけど、実は世界は、特にその北米を中心にテクノロジーでそれをカバーするっていうところをずっと追求してきた時期で、プレイステーション3の世代になった瞬間にテクノロジーの方がそれを上回るっていう時期が来たせいで、作り方を変えようとはしないし、だけどテクノロジーも追いつけないっていうことから、さらにそれを知ってるはずのプログラマーたちはミドルウェアの制作に行ってるっていう状態で、でもグラフィックス作ってるそのアーティストたちは自分たちの作り方こそが世界一だと思ってるので、古い作り方で引き続きものすごく負荷のかかるや
Yeah,
り方で
I think I've played quite a few of them in the past, but not currently or recently.
っていうのがもう一つの大きな、さっき2つあるって言った問題の1つ目がそれです。もう一つはプライドはいついかなる時でもとても大切なものだとは思うんですけど、そこにやっぱり超巨大な成功体験をしたっていうこと自体が乗っかってきちゃうと、その自分たちの作るゲームこそがベストであって、他をあんまり見る必要がないっていう時期でもあったんじゃないかなと思っていて、例えば
But honestly,
当
wish
時
I
世
had
界
one.
多分 MMORPG を知ってる人に世界最大の MMORPG は何ですかって言ったら、100人に聞いたら100人がワールド・オブ・ウォークラフトって言ったはずなのに、誰もプレイしてない開発チームが。これはワールド・オブ・ウォークラフトを知ってるか
I
知
mean,
って
there
ない
aren't
か
really
ってい
any
う
good
話
ones
だ
that
け
came
の
out
話をして
recently,
るんじゃ
are
なくて、
there?
その自分たちが世の中に対して新しいそのビデオゲームをリリースしようとするときにライバルになるタイトルは何だろうとか、ユーザーは今プレイヤーはどこにそのゲームエクスペリエンスの最新の状態をプレイしてるんだろうっていうのを知らないっていうのが、その感覚として僕には結構信じられない。なんでもっとみんなゲームプレイしないの？だって自分たちが今どの辺りにいるか分かんなくなっちゃうよっていうのが言いたい。で特に14の場合に関しては、もちろんファイナルファンタジー11の超巨大な成功体験っていうのが邪魔をしたっていうのもあるとは思うんだけど、あの当時はエヴァークエストを徹底的にプレイをして、だからこそ11を作ったはずなのに、
Yeah, I mean, I had my parents to talk to or have my parents to talk to, but besides that, not really
どんなメニュー
anyone.
を出していて、どんなサービスをしてるかを知らずにレストラン作る回転させる人はいないんじゃないって。
So, just at the launch stage then of 1.0, what was
After
the
school,
feeling
the
within
usual
Square
happened.
Enix?
I lost
The beta
contact
was
to
quite
almost any
close to
everybody.
launch. Were people anticipating
yeah.
that there would be negative feedback, or were they less aware that that was going to happen?
僕は他のチームにいて、すごくベータの評判が悪いっていうの
No,
が
I just talked to you guys and my
ネットで
parents.
ニュースを見てました。ただ多かれ少なかれ MMORPG のローンチは絶対に荒れやすい、
Yeah.
サーバーが
Well, I still live with them, so
テスト、ストレステスト
I had
が
that chance a bit more
で
often.
もプレイヤーの方は遊びたいから、やっぱりサーバーが落ちるとやっぱりすごく文句を言って当然だと思いますし、だから僕もやっぱり11を作ったチームだから、そうは言っても11のやっぱり完成度が高いので、そこと比較をしてあの機能がない、この機能がないっていう話をしてるのかなっていうふうに思って、僕は僕自身の開発が忙しかったのもあって、ただそれも少しずつ収まっていくんだろうなっていうふうに僕は当時は見てた。ただ別の角度、今度はその オリジナルの14チームの中のその視点としては、このままだと本当にまずいもっと時間をかけて品質を上げないとっていう、もちろん声を上げる人たちもいたけれど、会社ってまあ全体の判断としてはファイナルファンタジー11のスタートもそうだったと。機能たくさんなかったし、ものすごくネガティブなフィードバックもたくさん来たけど、パッチでどんどん直していって11は完成したんだから。
Yeah, I live in a pretty small village, so direct local friends were never really an option for me.
判断したのでベータを終わらせてリリースへ踏み切ったっていうのが当時のジャッジだったって、僕はチームに入ってからインタビューをしてそれを確認したので、チームの中ではやっぱり議論はあったそうです。あのままじゃダメ、まずいっていう話は。ただ最終的なジャッジは今お話しした通り、11の時もそうだった。でも11だってずっとパッチを続けてああなったじゃないかと。
Eventually, Corporate realized that this wasn't usual launch problems, so they called on a few select members of the team to create a task force. This task force would research what changes the game needed and the resources the development environment would require to do the work. Members of that team would talk to Yoshida-san about their worries after hours. His thoughts were that the current organizational structure would need to be modified if the team was going to make the changes required. In October of 2010, Yoshida-san talked to the then Square Enix president Yoichi Wada and suggested they initiate a company-wide emergency to get the team the resources they needed. Wada-san spent a few days talking to the 14 development team about their concerns, and while a lot of the team had
I'm not gonna
suggested that
crash,
the current
not on
task
purpose
force
anyway.
was in fact up to the task, some members of the 14 team had pleaded to have Yoshida-san join the project to help. And so it transpired that in late November,
There are some way
Corporate took
tighter
the
roads,
decision to
too.
remove Hiromichi Tanaka from the team and move Nobuaki Komodo from director to lead designer. Both of their vacant positions would be filled by Yoshida-san. At that time, he was leading a team that was working on an original IP for Square Enix. He was disappointed to leave that team, but excited for the opportunity to work on one of the company's crown jewels, a numbered Final Fantasy game. So, he got right to work.
やらなきゃいけないことは当時3つあって、
Yes, way tighter.
まあ順番にやってます。まずそのチームにまあオリジナルのチームにトップが変わります。であとそのタスクフォースメンバーもそのまま開発コアとしてリードに入りますっていう当然話をしなきゃいけない全チーム。ただ僕はドラゴンクエスト
So tight that the big, big, big things barely fit.
ほとんどのスタッフを知らないというか、まあ顔と名前ぐらいは知ってるスタッフはいたけど、その一緒に仕事したことがある人ほとんどいなかったので、まずセイハローっていうところからで、一度はみんな仕事したことがないからどんな仕事をする人間なのかを見てくれればいいよ。
But yeah, I'm in a similar situation. Everyone that I had that I was friends with
チームを抜けて構わないから
didn't really get into anime
一緒に仕事してみよ
or
うね
gaming or stuff like
一回
that.
はいいよねって。でそれでダメだと思ったら本当すぐ抜けて構わないから3ヶ月ぐらいまず一緒にやろうよっていう話を僕スピーチでした記憶があります。でまあもう一回チャレンジするよ。まあ当然その時その申請するなんて話はまだ計画がなかったんで、とにかく立て直しをやるよと、ギブアップはしないよっていう話をした時に、僕を知ってる何人かはよしやるぞっていう人たちと、もういい、もう無理だよっていう人たちと、なんだよこの急な体制変更って言ってまあ怒ってる雰囲気の人たちとっていうのが大体のその時のコメントでした。まあそんな中で今も14のサウンドディレクターやってる曽健が、まあ、その話をしてた時と大きなホールだったんですけど、2階のサウンドブースで僕のマイクの調整とかやってくれてて、その曽健があいつだけですよやり直すっていうか、そのリベンジするぞって言ったらガッツポーズしてたのがあいつだけです。今でも覚えてます。2階席でおっしゃーってやってたんであいつ。
I saw both reactions. I saw the, oh my God, we just went through a year of hell, and now he's
Yeah,
asking us to
perfectly
go through
understandable.
a year and a half of hell to this point that might, be another failure because no one had taken the game and rebuilt it in this manner before. So basically saying, yeah, you just have to trust me, and yeah, you could, waste another year and a half of your life, and it could be a failure, and but you're gonna have to believe me on this one. And so yeah, a lot of people are like, I can't do this anymore, I don't know. And I can understand that because again, it was a gamble. But then on the other hand, there were, I mean, a lot of us, you know, myself included, but I mean, a lot of people on the team that were like, no, I mean, we worked so hard on this and we did our jobs the best that we could, but for a lot of, you know, reasons, some circumstances that were out of our control, you know, decisions made by higher ups, decisions made by other teams that, you know, affected our work, nothing that we could do about it. But we had put our all into it and we were invested in the project. We still believed in the project. To have someone from the outside come in and not just come in to say, okay, you know, forget it, we're just going to do it my way or the highway. He's like, you know, he asked our opinions. He laid out a roadmap. He gave us a vision and a hope. And it, even though it seemed like it would be difficult to achieve, it didn't seem inconceivable.
Yoshi P knew there was no time to wait. He worked with corporate to make sure the team had time off, both for them to relax, but also to give him time to build his new vision, to do research playing other MMOs, and to help draft his plan, to deliver the vision and how the team was going to do it. They had very little time to fix this game, so once they started, the specifications document would have to be watertight. And as captain
Got
of the
some
ship,
very
he
deliberate
needed to be able
phrasing
to
there
answer
going
every
on.
question the team may have, quickly.
Yoshida-san was now at the helm of his first Final Fantasy, and as an avid MMO fan, he was looking forward to getting in there and fixing it. What he couldn't have known at this stage was the scale of the job ahead of him, that no matter how much they patched Final Fantasy XIV Online, they couldn't ever fix it. What they'd have to do was something that no developer had ever done, to rebuild an entire MMO while the original version was still running.
I don't think that they realized immediately that it was something that couldn't be solved via patches. I think they still believe that, you know, if we patch it, it'll be fine. And it wasn't until they reevaluated and then brought in, you know, the new blood. Yoshida-san came in and told them, okay, yeah, this is not something that can be patched. If we want to fix this, we're going to have to take a drastic step.
Yoshida spent 7 weeks researching and returned with 2 options for corporate. It was then he realized that it would be impossible to convert the current game into an MMO that could last the test of time. Ultimately, though, this was a decision that corporate had to make. So he returned with not 1, but 2 plans. Plan A and Plan B. During this meeting, he explained that Plan A would be to patch the game and make it more playable, but that ultimately the game would never really satisfy players, and though Square Enix may make their money back, the damage to the online brand would be catastrophic. And then there was Plan B.
今のファイナルファンタジー4、当時のオリジナルのファイナルファンタジー14をパッチを当てて、そのできる限りポジティブに遊べるものにしながら、裏で全く新しいそのファイナルファンタジー14をもう一度作り直すっていうのがプラン B で、まあその話だけを聞くと、まあそんなバカなってなるので、当然どうやってそれを達成するか、チームを2つに分けて、でどういったそのマネジメントスタイルでそれをやるのかで、大体発売時期はプレイステーション3版をリリースするというプレイヤーとの約束だったので、プレイステーション3の寿命が来る前にリリースしなきゃいけないので、2012年年末から2013年中には絶対リリースできるこの計画であればっていうプレゼンテーションでして、リスクは高い。ただ当然そんなことをしたことはないし、ゲーム業界で。しかも同じタイトルで作り直しているから成功、うまくいったとしても成功するかどうかはわからない。ただ少なくともやっぱりファイナルファンタジーってクレイジーだねとかすごいことするねとか、少なくとも自分たちがミスしたことを認めて信頼を取り戻そうとしたっていう努力は見てくれてる人は多分見てくれるだろう。だからどっちをチョイスするかは会社に任せる。ただどっちであっても
Alright, that was a bit tight.
で、まあ、結果的にはね、プラン B でって言ってくれたんで、今こうなってます。
Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was in a state of disarray. Square Enix had decided to suspend subscriptions to help ease the negativity around the game, while the PS3 version was indefinitely postponed. For the next 2 years, Yoshida-san and his team would work tirelessly on not 1, but 2 MMOs, patching the original 1.0 to fans' expectations while secretly working on a brand new version of Final Fantasy XIV. In our next episode, we focus on that 2-year period and tell the incredible story of the falling moon of Dalamud, the death of 1.0, and the birth of a new ARZ.
Sounds very wholesome.
So what did you think from your perspective as CFO to fix this problem? It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to involve creating a new game. It's going to involve keeping the other game still running. Did you think at that time that was a solid investment? That was where Enix should be doing? Or did you think that it was a risky potential?
単純にそこだけ見るとすごくリスクが高い。一般的には多分ない。さすがに当社はね、ナンバータイプのそれがこの前サービス
Alright, see you later, Saya.
非常に将来的にまずい。これはやっぱり非常に大きなダメージだということで、再度作り直して並行してやるということに関しては、これはまあやっぱやるべき、やらざるを得ないという中になりました。つまり残念なリスクが大きいです。
Series on the fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV Online. We rejoined Yoshida-san and the team at Square Enix at the start of a long adventure, and with players leaving en masse and the clock ticking, it was time for them to formulate a plan. But how exactly do you rebuild an MMO while people are still playing it?
Yoshida-san set his eyes on a 2013 launch date for the new version of 14 as he wanted to have the game out for fans within the PlayStation 3's lifecycle. But to do this while still patching 1.0, he would have to create an entirely new MMO in less than half the time of most conservative estimates. So before we get into specifics of what exactly was changed, I wanted to know how he did it. So for a moment, we step away from game design and dive into a critically important aspect of video games development that we rarely talk about: project management.
Well, I have it
Designing an MMO
installed.
I just imagine the
But
time
I'm
that
not sure my
something like this is at
notifications
least
work
5
properly.
years for anything. And you're being asked to do it in less than half of that probably. When you're designing games, when we talk to people, so much of it is iterative.
And I don't really
you
check it
create
when I'm not
something
getting
and
any
then
notifications.
You refine it and you brush it and then you look at it again. But you didn't have that luxury. You had to make sure that the version of The Realm Reborn that was coming out at that date was the final package. So did that change the way that you had to set up the team, the way your workflow?
MMORPG の開発に5年が普通だっていうのはもうちょっと強く言っといてくださいまずそのスケジュールトラブルを起こさないためのそのマネジメントの工夫としてはなんだろうな言い方がちょっと難しいんですけど、ものすごく腕のいい特に100人に1人ぐらいしかいないようなプログラマーがたくさんやっぱりいるわけではないのでかつものすごい短い期間で大量のコンテンツやアセットを作らなければいけないので人がたくさんどうしても並行作業が多くなるのが分かってしまう能力のこの差をある意味高いレベルに合わせるんじゃなくて低いレベルに合わせるというか言い方が難しいな平均的なところに合わせるっていうそのマネージメントをすることでリスクをなくすってことをしましたこの後ちょっともうちょっと詳しくで何をしたかというととにかく一つのタスク例えばドラグーン
that's very nice of you.
ジョブを作るっていう時に今言ったドラグーンっていうジョブを作るっていうタイトル1タスクに見える
And I think I found why I'm not getting notifications from that.
何個のドラグーンにはアクションが必要でそのアクションを一つプログラミングするのにどれだけかかるかもちろんそのドラグーンの特定のアクションを作るために仕様書も必要だし仕様書を作った後は実際にその
I had notifications disabled from people that I don't follow, so
なら、それを例えば僕に確認依頼が飛んで僕がチェックする
Yeah, it just didn't.
15分かかるそのぐらい
Wow, that's an ambitious asshole.
見えるものを徹底的にもう細かく分解させるっていうちょっとなんだろう
Overtaking in a blind corner, something only AI can do.
ミニマムな管理方法を引いたのにスタッフは結構ストレスだっただろうなと思いますでそのさらにシングルタスクに対して最もこのタスクが自分で早く終わると予測される時間この時間でこのタスクが完了したら自分を褒めてくれる逆にこのタスクがこの時間以上かかってしまったら給料をもらう資格がないっていうぐらいその最悪のケースっていうそのミニマムで終わる時間とマックスかかってもこれだけだろうっていう時間を両方申告させて
But I do find it kind of fascinating that the AI can actually
スケジュ
overtake
ールを
you.
管理するっていう本当にミニマムマイクロマネージメントマイクロすぎるぐらいのマイクロマネージメントをしてそれを最初はウィークでみんなそのやり方に慣れてもらうために毎週1週間でその、マネージメントを回してで1週間経つと結果が出るのでさらにそこに個人パラメータ例えば吉田はやたらとミニマムを
And I'm actually quite kind of sad that such big parts of this documentary are in Japanese, so we can't understand it.
寄りがちだなってなった場合は 50% で見積もるんじゃなくてもうその係数をかけて吉田はマックス側に寄るからきっと次の週のスプリントはもうちょっとマックス側に寄るだろうみたいなのをどんどんこうで個人特性までそうやって管理してたので1日の稼働時間は8時間ではありますけど、トイレに行ったりっていう時間も必要だしあと必ずミーティングやその会議室でのミーティングじゃなかったとしてもスタッフと仕様の打ち合わせを絶対にデスクトゥデスクフェイストゥフェイスでやることがあると思うので1日の稼働は6時間で計算してほしいですので全員6時間1時間では見ない大体慣れてきたらそれを2週間スプリント 変えて、あとは毎朝必ずスタンダップミーティングをして、それぞれのセクションで自分のタスクが今どうなってるのか、誰かのタスクが遅れてるせいで自分のタスクに取り掛かれないとかいうのは毎朝スタンダップミーティングをして、ではこのタスクを入れ替えてこっちを先にやってくれないとこの人が困ってしまうから全部毎朝やってます。だからスクラムっていうそのマネジメント手法のちょっと変形型ですね。ただ最後に言っておきますけど、このマイクロマネジメント普通じゃないのでおすすめしないですよ。2年弱で MMORPG を作る、逆に言うとスタッフにも2年かからず
Hey Davius,
終わるから、
how are you?
このマネジメントだから今は我慢してって言ってやってもらったものなので、一般的には絶対おすすめしないです。細かすぎます。
I mean, anyone can come in and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna rebuild the game. Follow me." But he came in with, this huge Excel that had all these lists of everything on it, what we're gonna do here, what we're gonna do here. This is when we're gonna do it. This is what we're gonna do here. And to see that, like, okay, this isn't just a stopgap type of thing. The president's like, okay, crazy here. Let's just change the leader and hopefully things will, get better. It was an actual, okay, this guy really wants to do this. He has this plan.
Yoshida
Yeah,
had them
but I'm
running
not
like a
quite sure
well-oiled
how to
machine,
disable them
so
as
it was
to how to
time
enable
get
them
work.
through media
First
share.
things first, they had to start the rollout of patches for 1.0, but a critical part of the failure of the first game was the poor communications the development team had with their community. So to keep diehard fans on board during this protracted period of redevelopment, they had to be a lot more transparent.
What we explained to players at very first is it was failure. Failure. So we need to restart the game. But we at that timing we didn't announce the. Realm Reborn is not announced, but we are going to fix this game. We need more communication. So just list all the changes, plan changes. So some, upper management people doesn't like this because if you show this to the players,
Okay, while this is actually interesting on the preview on the website, I do get subtitles, but not in OBS.
player knows what we will do. So, after that, you did this, but you didn't do this, you didn't do this. Everyone can check that. So, some people doesn't really like that way. But when Yoshida-san and myself are discussing how we deal with the community, but what we need to do is to establish the trust.
確かに、今の14のその
No, I don't have the normal interface.
ユーザーベースから見れば当時のユーザーベースはまあものすごい小さかったと思う、まあ、今と比較すれば。ただ、まあ、メディアの皆さんからもそのプレイヤーからもそのファイナルファンタジー14はもうダメだ、むしろなんであんなダメなゲーム遊んでるの君たちどうかしてるんじゃないのって言われながらも、いやファイナルファンタジーシリーズだから絶対何とかしてくれるはずだ、いやこれはこれで僕らは楽しんでるからほっといてくれ、その11だって最初の頃はいろいろあったけどきっと良くなるはずって言って数はもちろん今と比較したらすごく小さいそのコミュニティだったかもしれないけど、誰よりもスクエアエニックスやファイナルファンタジーのことを応援してくれている人たちだったので、この人たちを無視するんだと多分この先もうファイナルファンタジーはダメだろうなので、むしろ何よりも大切にしなきゃいけない部分っていうのが最も大きい理由、それは何億円使おうが回収できない後でコストだと思う。信頼ってそういうことなんだなっていうふうに会社にもプレゼンテーションしましたし、僕もそう思ってたから。
Thank you for the PSA.
あともう一つやっぱり大きなポイントは本当にファイナルファンタジー14がリバップしてその大逆転するためには絶対に彼らの力が必要だっていうことももう一つ重要な理由だって考えてます。
Next, Yoshida split his team in half, some working on the new version of 14 and others working on the updates to 1.0, what he called the guts version of the game. But with so much of the game requiring fixing, where do you even start?
まず一番最初にやらなきゃいけないのはインターフェースにとにかく最低限遊べるように、正直本当申し訳ないことなんですけど、最初にやっぱりオリジナルのプロデュースのインターフェースがあまりにもなんだろうひどすぎて話にならない。
Crossing the border. Welcome to the Netherlands.
ゲームパッドがないとまともに遊べない。聞いたことがないそんな PC でマウスキーボードでまともに遊べないゲームなんか見たことがなかったので、いくらそのコンテンツを作ろうがジョブを作ろうがインターフェースがダメだったらコンテンツの面白さに到達する前に人はゲームにやめてしまう。
Yeah, I took a quick look as well, but didn't immediately find anything.
インターフェースを直さないとゲームにならないっていうふうに考えたので、一番最初にその丁寧に取り掛かったのはやっぱりインターフェースの回収です。回収して5分ぐらいでやめちゃいました。でもね、笑い話でクイットの仕方が分からなくて、ウィンドウの
Somebody fucked their car.
バツボタンを押そうとしたんですよ。で押したらこのままゲームを終了するとデータがセーブされない可能性があります。それでもよろしいですかってダイアログが出る。いやいやよくないでしょって。いや僕はエンジニアだからサーバーに常に聞き込んでるからそんなわけないじゃんって思ってるんですけど、万が一のことがあるから多分出てるんですよそのダイアログでも意味がわからない。でそうなるともう怖くて押せないですよ。なんだこれでノーって押すとまたゲームにいるわけでしょ。 X を押すとダイアログでしょ。どうやってクイットするんだよこのゲーム。
Interface isn't sexy. It's not something you tend to hear a lot about in video
Germany,
games
Asia is
coverage, because
actively
really,
working
when
on
it's done
legalization
correctly,
again.
You're not supposed to notice it. So when the early patches for the game concentrated on interface and quality of life updates, much of the community began to get frustrated. The team needed to fix it quickly, so Yoshida employed the help of a Square veteran, one of the developers, on that original 1.0 task force.
はい、皆川博と申します。ファイナルファンタジー14ではユーザーインターフェースの、設計デザインとあとアート的なビジュアルの方を担当しています。よろしくお願いします。今47歳なんですけれども25の時に入社したので22年経ちますね。当時はまだスクエアエニックスがスクエアという会社だったので、ファイナルファンタジータクティクスの、アートディレクターを担当していました。なので普段は少ない情報、なるべく少ない情報やシンプルな表示を心がけているんですけれども、今回はカスタマイズ性というかよりツール的な考え方でいろんなプレイヤーがそれぞれ自分の好きなカスタマイズができるように普段 ソルフォーカスを十字キーで動かしながら決定するっていう、そういう操作性ではちょっとゲームにならないだろうというところがあったので、かなり最初の頃にクロスホットバーアクションを選択するみたいなことを考えたんですけど、ただこのインターフェース自体は割と昔から他のゲームで自分自身作ったり使ったりしていたものだったので、絶対それでいけるだろうなという思いはありました。なので実はそこはあまり苦労していなかったりします。例えば表現方法が変わると必ず僕はこっちの方が良かったっていう話はあるんですね。例えばインベントリーは以前はテキストで表示されていたんですけれども、アイコンになると当然似ていてよくわからないとか、なので両方欲しいっていう話は受けて、両方作るのは大変なんだよなっていう、
Alright, Ophelia. See you
そういう
later.
ところがありました。ARR のリリースから積み残しの仕事リストみたいなのがあるんですけれども、2年以上経って今入るみたいな機能もたまにあったりします。
でもう一つはバトルシステムをとにかく変更しないとコンテンツが作れない。つまりあまり良くないバトルシステムをベースにして、コンテンツを作ったとしてもコンテンツが面白くならない。だから順番としてはインターフェースを修正しながらバトルシステムを変更して、やっとその先にコンテンツを作るっていうのが、順番としては僕は真っ当だと思った。当時のバトルシステムも当時は15人でパーティーが組めてあって、しかもマジックポイント MP の管理っていうものがほぼなかったので、当時のファイナルファンタジー14の中で最強の回復魔法だったケアルガスペルをずっと連打してても MP がゼロにならない。延々ケアルガして OK。他の魔法いらないよね。じゃあとにかく当時は15人で1つのモンスターを殴りまくって回復しまくってっていうすごい大雑把なゲームだったので、これを戦略的なバトルシステム計算式に変えていかないとコンテンツが面白くならない。だから UI を直しながらバトルシステムを変更して、それでも準備をしながら最も重要だと思ってたのはファイナルファンタジーエレメントっていうものをとにかく入れていくことっていうのが次のというか最も大きな課題だっていうふうに思ってました。なぜなら当時ジョブもなかった。ライトもね、ブラックメージもホワイトメージも、俺はファイナルファンタジーなのにチョコボに乗れるわけじゃないし、イフリートは出てきて戦えないし、一体何なんだと思うよ。だから僕らがコンテンツとして入れていかなきゃいけなかったのはやっぱりイフリートやガルーダ、いわゆる召喚獣って呼ばれてるものとの
Agreed. That was the first anime I ever watched. Also the first manga I ever read.
もう話にならないからチョコボちゃんと乗れるようにしないといけないし、何よりジョブがないのも FF じゃない。少なくとも僕は FF だと思わない。だったら
Answer your giant wall of text made me miss my exit.
でもそれもやっぱり
So now I am on a 2RT tour.
システムが直ってなければいいものにはならない。だから回収をやりながら
2RT tour.
それを一つずつクリアしていくのを中盤以降は続けて、そこからやっぱりグッドゲームの評判は
2-hour detour.
良くなってプレイヤーもずっと増え続けていったので、少しずつですね。あれは僕らもすごい励まされました。やっぱりちゃんと面白いものですよ。
Man, why was that so hard?
数字の上から見ていけば当時の7つ一気にリリースされた7つのナンバー忘れちゃったけど7つのジョブがいっぺんに実装されたんです。
And don't worry, it happened would have probably eventually happened to me too, even if they didn't sound that.
The team had their sights set on what needed to be changed and how they were going to do it. For the first time in years, they were feeling hopeful, and even better, players were finally starting to respond with positivity. But right as they were settling into this new reality and finding their rhythm, disaster struck. For 6 minutes, Japan shook. A 9.0 earthquake had struck 200 miles northeast of Tokyo, and a resulting tsunami devastated coastal regions. What followed was a humanitarian and infrastructural disaster that can be barely comprehended. While the country rallied to help those affected, Tokyo suffered aftershocks and frequent electrical blackouts. I asked Yoshida-san if he'd like to share how this had affected the team.
まあ東京もそうだけどすごい揺れたので、やっぱりまあ当日はね、会社に泊まった方が安全だって帰らないでずっと住んでるっていう子たちもいたし、やっぱり本当に家族とか親戚とかいうスタッフ当然いたので、もう正直言うともう開発どころではなかったのが私はそうです。で開発なんか優先すべきじゃないと思うので、やっぱりみんな開発者の前に人なので、まあ日本中電力が足りなくなっていたので、まあ本当に些細なのかもしれないけど、
All good. Don't worry about
サーバーを
it.
全部落とそう。少しでも協力できることがあればっていうことで、プレイヤーの皆さんにも申し訳ないんですけど、サーバーを一期間止めますっていう話をして、そんな時期でしたね。ただ、サーバーの稼働を再開してから、プレイヤーの
This
方
was
から
A. This is what I was talking about earlier. The tight roads.
したんですけど、エオルゼアの中で遠くにいる友達
Where your truck barely fits
道が
onto.
確認できた。エオルゼアがあったから電話も通じない、連絡の手段がなかったけど、エオルゼアの中にログインしてきてくれたことで無事だったっていうのが分かった。逆にその周りの人たちの情報っていうのが分かったっていうお話をいくつかいただいて、まあ電力が足りなければね、当然そのサーバーなんて落とせばいいかなと思うんですけど、そうじゃない限りは続けるっていうことも、そのエオルゼアを維持しておくっていうことも一つのなんかサポートなのかなと思った機会でもありましたね、その時。だから続けてくれてありがとうって言われたんですけど、そのファイナルファンタジー4開発で、まあ、あとは最も大きかったのは、実はイフリートの次に戦うそれはリヴァイアさんの予定で、リヴァイアさんかなりの速度で作ってたんですよ。とてもじゃないけどリリースなんかできない話で、だからイフリートの後モーグリが実装されてるので、それが理由です。急いでモーグリを作り直した、し直した。いや、そんなことはなかったですよ。みんなやっぱりそれぞれのその時期会社に来れないまあ何日か会社の休みにしてるどっちかっていうとその自分たちにできることをやろうっていうみんな感じだった。じゃあ全員で福島に行って何か僕らが活動することって意味があるのか、あれだけたくさんの人たちが押しかけてるから、なんか僕らは彼らが落ち着いた時にゲームを楽しく遊べるように、僕らは結局ゲーム作るしか能がないので、まあ、ゲームを作り続けるのが結局何よりなのかもっていう、こういう話はしなかったですけど、みんなそういう感じで復帰してきてましたよ、仕事。
Over the coming months, the team would release patch after patch for 1.0. 1.17 introduced 8-player parties and more stable network infrastructure. 1.18 dropped in June 2011 and was a huge patch that made the game much more playable. Level caps lowered for story quests. It added grand companies, class adjustments, instance dungeons, and auto-attack. Yes, would you believe this game still didn't have auto-attack? It featured a more user-friendly map interface and also scrapped the controversial fatigue system.
And so we need to take this concept that Yoshida-san has created, make it fit with the current world, write stories around it, make the transition seem seamless, and then in the new world, make it so that there's still some connection with that old world that will be understood by those core players, but won't alienate new players. It won't be something like, oh, you didn't play that old, the stuff in 1.0, so you're going to be completely lost. Because we don't want to do that either. We want to get new players to come that didn't play the original one. And we don't want to have them have to play the original to understand this one. And so trying to work the story that way was, it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun. We got to try a lot of things. We had a lot of freedom then, especially on the 1.x stuff, because in a sense, it would only be released, seen for a few months, and then it would be gone forever. And so, on one hand, that's really exciting because we can do whatever we want. We can create these crazy stories, have these crazy characters, all these crazy situations.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to.
And go, balls to the wall. But on the other hand, we're working day and night.
Or we watch it on my own time.
Only a few thousand people are going to see, and will be gone in 6 months. I really think, I look back at now, I think we did a lot of our best work during that one point. And it's sad that no one is ever going to see that. Maybe, there are some videos up on YouTube where people can still go back and check them out. But a lot of, some of the best stories, some of the most crazy stuff went on during that 1.x period because it was pretty much no holds barred. Anything can happen. We had crazy cults, and we had people from the Goblin Empire. There was propaganda, giant dragons, and machines, and it was just anything goes in type of situation there, and it was just really a lot of fun.
1.19 signified the 1-year anniversary. Players finally got personal chocobos, and in the distance, one light in the night sky burned slightly brighter, a sign of things to come.
At the very first time, it was just some rumor between players. Oh, is it getting bigger? No, I don't think so.
This was also when Square Enix announced that an entirely new version of the game had been in development since January, and that current players would receive copies of it for free. They also announced that players' character data and progress would be transferred to this new version, what they were then calling version 2.0. The roadmap for patches was outlined, and it was announced that monthly fees would be reinstated as of January 2012. As an incentive for players to keep playing while the fees were introduced, they announced Legacy Campaign, which rewarded players who paid for at least 3 months of service with permanently reduced monthly fees. Those players would also get an exclusive Chocobo mount, while as a thank you for their support during the redevelopment, their names would be featured in the credits of the new game.
で、2011年10月14日にレルムリボーンっていう14を全く新しいゲームとして作り直してますっていう発表を同時にすることで、どうなの？このままアップデートしていくんじゃないの？一体どうなの？これさ、楽しかったですよ。
1.2 was the final patch of 2011. It saw all the servers renamed, while the moon Dalamud now seemed larger in the sky. 1.21 came in March 2012, introducing a new job system and 2 new dungeons. 1.22 followed in April. Dalamud grew closer, and now some players are beginning to have nightmares. Ominous dreams greet players who log into the game while at an inn. The community all the while trying to figure this out. Is the moon going to destroy the world? Then how will player data be saved in 2.0? They wouldn't have to wait long for answers. That summer, a trailer revealed that 2.0 would be titled A Realm Reborn, and Yoshida-san conducted numerous interviews explaining the future of the game and the features players can expect. On September 12, 2012, the final patch for 1.0 was released. The game updates to 1.23b, and with it comes an enormous Dalamud, its mechanical outer shell now in full view. Players now realizing that this world didn't have long left. On November 1st, 2012, a final in-game battle began. Square Enix made entry free for the final week of the game, while a haunting song can be heard playing on the wind across the entire realm. While the server struggled to deal with the load, players got together with their friends one last time, as the development team in Japan spammed enemies outside capital cities. One group of players outside of Golda has become legendary, attempting to protect the city with what we now call the Great Gobu Wall.
Right before Dalamud hit Elzir, we had to do some chaotic situation to the existing world. So what we decided to do is to spawn the strong enemies at the near the main cities. Even when I pop the very strong, I mean, Manticore or the mobile or the giant monsters, players kill instantly.
Right.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah, just snap. So, oh Jesus. So you killed my monster again. So what we can do is just keep spawning the lots of monsters, and then in very late night when I was doing, keep spawning the monsters. The one programmer I've never talked to him before, but just coming down to my desk and then just give me a bit of paper with some numbers, which numbers I can understand. This is the number of the certain monster.
Okay.
I can type in so that I can spawn a very new, stronger monsters. Right. Oh, thank you very much. It's a program. So that was a very fun moment.
You were like playing God.
At first, I felt like God. Hey, players, can you beat my monsters? But no. I was very weak God.
They were God.
Yeah, they were God.
So it was then, on Sunday, November 11th, 2012, just over a year after Final Fantasy XIV was originally launched, with Dalamud hanging in the sky, that the servers were finally turned off. And as they did, a trailer dropped, showing players what was to become of their old home.
We got one of our special transport missions. Oversized transport. Enjoy your lyricophilia. See you later.
Well, it's pretty simple. You had something that not a lot of people liked, and everyone wanted to forget about it. So rather than, just taking that and doing it over, and just reimagining it, why not destroy that and start over? If we leave too much of that original core there, then it will just linger on as that kind of cancer that, will always bring us back to that failure. Why not just clean the slate? But on the other hand, and this is where, things kind of got complicated, is that, no matter how bad the reviews were and how many people bought the game but then left the game, there was still this core of players in both Japan and Europe and North America that were passionate about the game. In the state that it was, they were passionate about the game. They were passionate about the series and their characters that they had created and were now living in this MMO. And so, it would have been easy to just say, okay, bye guys, But if you do that, then you've basically alienated the only group that stuck with you, for all of those, when everyone else is slamming the game and talking about how bad it is. Those guys are troopers. They go on the forums. They're defending, the development team when a lot of times we didn't deserve defending. So that idea to wipe the slate clean, but not make it something completely new, make it something that was connected in some way to that, to the old game. The decision made by Yoshida-san to, okay, let's bring down Dalamud, destroy the planet, destroy the realm, but then bring it back. Figuring out a way to make that happen within the current story. Make it feel natural. Make it feel like that was always the plan. Was the biggest challenge, I think.
The team at Square Enix had worked themselves to the bone, not only recreating Final Fantasy XIV in A Realm Reborn, but also by dedicating time and money to ensuring that 1.0 players felt part of that story. The moon, Dalamud, had crashed into the world of Eorzea. That world was gone forever. Only one question remained. What was going to rise out of its ashes?
Fox is the localization guy, right? Yeah, I like him too. He has a nice character. Good shot, Mobzilla, you can do it.
Hello and welcome to the final part of our fantastical tale. We sit on the eve of the rebirth of Square Enix's new world. Almost exactly 3 years after the original catastrophic launch, Eorzea was going to be getting a second chance. But this time, everybody knew it wasn't going to be getting a third.
Once Dalamud had struck, Yoshida-san moved the 1.x patch team into the main team working on A Realm Reborn, taking lessons from contemporary MMOs, feedback from players over the 1.x phase, and elements that worked from the original version. They crafted a modern Final Fantasy XIV, set in a vibrant world that reflected the energy of the franchise. And for Yoshida-san and some other members of the team, this was going to be a very public thing, as they took the short train ride from the office in Shinjuku to Shibuya to take part in a very special launch event.
その渋谷のイベントへ向かうために朝電車に乗ってた。で少しリハーサルを当然やらなきゃいけないので、少し早めに家を出て、いよいよ集まれたと思いながら電車に乗っていたら、ちょうどそのドアの近くに立ってたんですよ。そしたらそのドアの僕は右側に立ってたの。左側に立っていた男の子、大学生ぐらいだと思うんだけど、緑の綺麗な男の子がすっと僕のところに寄ってきて、小声で「吉田さんですよね。本当に発売おめでとうございます。プレイヤーです」って言われたんです。
Man, I'm really curious about this launch event. They were talking about right now.
みんなでここまで来る話をステージでしていて、最後マイクが当たってきて話をしようとしたら、その朝そう言われたことをちょっと思い出しちゃって、いやいろいろあったなって思ったら、言葉に詰まっちゃった瞬間にその来てたプレイヤーたち、お客さんたちがこう頑張れって言われちゃって、もう昨日もちょっと話したように MMO って発売してもそれがゴールじゃないスタートなので、なんかあんまり感傷に浸ってる暇なんて本来ないんだけど、思わずこうプレイヤーにこう頑張れって言われたせいで泣けてきちゃって。
Well, good luck with that. Sounds difficult.
運営を続けていこうと思います。本当にありがとうございます。そしてこれからもどうぞよろしくお願いします。
is a great MMORPG experience on both PC and PlayStation. Grounded in tradition and learning from the lessons of the games that preceded it, it thrives on the strengths of its excitingly varied and flexible class system and highly mobile combat.
The game's rough launch is mostly over, but you still might have to contend with login errors. But this is, by and large, a very good massively multiplayer game, filled with lots of stuff to do, gorgeous vistas to behold, and lots of adorable narrative touches.
The challenge ahead for Square is to achieve the delicate balance of questing, dungeons, and fates for the second half of the leveling process, as well as it has the first. But considering the stunning reversal of fortune that Square has achieved here, it seems like anything is possible.
So what was it like then on your end after, years of working on this game, having the launch, basically being required to work on two separate games at the same time, patching one and then building an entirely new one, almost in secret for a large part of it, to then see, what was it like reading reviews and reading message boards when people were like, oh fuck, they did it?
It was, we were just as surprised. Not as surprised because again, it was definitely different. In those months before releasing the original, I knew that the game wasn't in good shape, and so it's kind of, you're lying to yourself, trying to say, no, this is going to be good, they're going to like this part, they're going to like this part, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. But with A Realm Reborn, playing, it's like, this is a really good game. You're playing, I'm enjoying it, but there's still that little bit in the back of your mind that's like, and it's what we were told, is that once the game has been reviewed, even if you try to rebuild it, everyone's going to remember the old. They're not going to look at the new. And Metacritic never forgets. When 14 came out, the original, and it was maybe people were like, okay, I think I'm a hardcore offline Final Fantasy guy, but I'll try out this maybe. But then, okay, it's terrible. See, I knew it. It's terrible. They're not going to want to come back for a second time. It's like, no, I already played that. It was terrible. And so there was just this feeling that even if it's a really great game, no one's going to play it. They're just going to brush it off because it's the bad Final Fantasy Online that I tried in beta and it sucked, so I'm not going to play it. So yeah, we were afraid of that. But then, wow, it was just, servers breaking.
How you feeling?
Not breaking, but servers getting so packed with people in those first few days, and then seeing the reviews come in, and they saved, and then they start saying things like, we saved the franchise and we saved the series.
Hey, Ophelia, was that supposed to be?
I don't know, remembering what it was like, at their launch of 1.0, and then just being able to, because who gets to re-experience a bad launch? It's something you don't get in the game industry. And
especially in MMOs.
And we did, and it was a great experience to be able to say, it was just that vindication of all of that extra work that we had put in. It was what Yoshida-san had promised us. If we worked hard and we did this right, that in a year and a half's time, we can do this. And a lot of people didn't believe him, and a normal person probably wouldn't believe him. But maybe that's why we were able to do it, because all of the abnormals remained and made something that was, literally impossible happen.
やっぱり サーバーがあまりにも混雑して遊べない、せっかくパッケージお金を出して買ってきたのにゲームが遊べないと何事だ、オンラインゲームだから当然サーバーに繋がらないと遊べない。評価とか以前の問題で買ってもらったのに遊べない状況を作ってること自体が僕にとってはショック、あんなに来るとはもちろん思ってなかったっていうのも要因ですけど、だから評価云々の前にまずちゃんとゲームに接続して遊べるようにしなきゃっていうことばっかりが当時の1ヶ月半ぐらい出荷を停止したりとか販売を停止したりとか、それしか全然覚えてないですね。
With most other genres, this would be the part of the story where we fade to black and roll credits, but such luxuries don't exist in the world of massively multiplayer online games. In fact, after the release of A Realm Reborn, or 2.0 as they call it internally, the team applied the same content-rich patching schedule they had undertaken with 1.0, releasing a significant 2.x patch to the game every 3 to 4 months. Over the next 2 years, these patches progressed the story of ARR, added in epic raids and new modes such as 72-player PvP battles. But just like before, while the team was working on these 2.x patches, they were concurrently building an updated version of the game, the first expansion pack, Heaven's Word.
2014年の10月9月10月ぐらいかな、開発チームにも吉田さん申請したら楽になるって言ってませんでしたっけってバカ MMO これだけ巨大な規模の MMO は最初のエクスパンションパック出すところまでがスタートダッシュなんだよって言ってごめんねって
Well, I mean, what was in our minds was, not having another letdown. Don't take for granted that the rebuild was a success. We can't just expect our users to say, oh, they're going to release expansion, so we can do whatever we want, and doesn't matter, they'll buy it, ha ha ha. There was none of that sense. One good thing that came out of the failed launch is that it's instilled into, the developers, all of the developers' minds that, we have to always strive to be better. We can't, let our guard down. It's in everyone's mind, and it's always lurking back there. We don't want to repeat that, and because of that, everyone is like always on the top of their game.
Is that still there even now? Because it's been 3.5 years.
Well, I mean, yeah, the old guard, yes, we all have that. We all have that. But it's not all the old guard anymore. People have moved off onto other projects. Some people have left the company to go freelance, explore new opportunities. A lot of new people have come in. And so a lot of people, don't remember, what happened in 1.0 because they weren't
summer
there.
Children.
That's right, exactly. And us old timers can tell them, well, back in my day, we did it. And they'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And sometimes it does feel like that. There's always the chance that, you can just get too full of yourself and not do 100%, not learn from your mistakes, and that the community was like, no, we're done. And we were lucky to be given a second chance. We were really lucky to have that second chance actually succeed. I don't know, third time, I don't know if I want to press my luck any further. It's not a good, fun situation to be in. The things that I've learned over these past 7-8 years working on 11, the original and the new and the expansions is something that I'm going to carry with me to all future projects, as it will with, all of the other devs that have done that. A piece of that Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, a piece of that, ARR and the expansions will be with all of them, and hopefully they'll be able to use that in all their future projects.
Heaven's Word was another win for the team. Critically praised and loved by the community, it helped push cumulative subscriptions for the game beyond 5 million. In fact, the amount of players in Eorzea has kept rising.
当然上がり下がりはあります。上がり下がりをしながら少しずつ右へ上がっていくっていうのが、あんまり他の MMO ではない曲線なのかもしれないですけど、とにかくゲームデザインでずっとこのファイナルファンタジー14というゲームをプレイし続けていなければついていけなくなるとか、その一度やめてしまったら戻れないっていうふうに絶対にならないようにっていうのが14のゲームデザインの根幹にある。なぜなら今本当にみんな忙しい。一つのゲームだけになんだろう、毎日ログインし続けられるわけじゃない。それはもともと MMO が大好きな僕ですらそうなので。そう考えた時に遊びたい時に遊んでメジャーアップデートが来たら一気に遊んで少し落ち着いて他のゲームも遊んだり家族サービスをしたりでまたメジャーが来たらそれでいいと思ってるしこれからの MMO はそうじゃないと多分やっていけないでやっぱり大きくゲーム1本分の新しい体験が来た時全員集合して最新のファイナルファンタジーをプレイしてもらいたいそれが基本ベースにあるのでやっぱりそのパッチの間で上がり下がりですがただ評判を聞いてず ずっと増え続けていくっていうのが理想だと思ってるし、14はそれでやれてきてるので、ただもっともっと遊んでほしい、たくさんの人にと思ってるので、チャレンジをまだまだ続けたいと思います。
The latest expansion pack, Stormblood, comes hot on the heels of 2 years worth of 3.x patches, which have added fresh storylines and features to Heavensward. With it comes increased level caps, new dungeons, jobs, raids, zones, and some changes to the battle system. Stormblood will also mark the end of the game's lifetime on the PlayStation 3, but of course in the intervening years, the team has since launched the game on the PlayStation 4. Final Fantasy XIV had been a financial disaster for Square Enix. Subscriptions were turned off for most of the 1.x era, and the company poured significant funds and trust into the team tasked with its rebirth. The importance of this franchise to the company is mirrored by its importance to its players and of course the development team. This is a group of people who have dedicated years into ensuring that this game came back from the dead. Yoshida-san says he only needs about 4 hours sleep a night. I asked him about his social life. He says he doesn't really remember anything except work. He speaks fondly of those players that stuck with the team, those warriors of light that were saved at the end of 1.0. His respect for fans of this game and all Final Fantasy fans is clear to see. The realm of Eorzea is totally different now. A bustling, vibrant place full of stories, quests and adventurers. A world expanded upon even more with the release of Stormblood. But the old world, the story of 1.0, the fall of Dalamud and the people who survived the cataclysm will always live on. Those who were there, be them player or developer, will forever be bound together by that experience.
Instead of a lot of games will create, these myths for their games, we have a myth that actually happened. But because it happened so long ago and only a few people saw it, most of the new players now, they look at back as like, did it really happen? What is this battle with the White Raven and Riven Road? It was just this grand battle, all different levels and this, dimensional rifts, and it sounds like an actual myth, but it's not just a story we made up for this, it's actually happened. And as the game progresses and new players come on, it's further and further back in history that this really cool thing happened. So, that visual works cutscene. I remember watching it and just like, goosebumps all over. I'm watching with all of these other, like the directors and producers and the director of the visual works, and we're all sitting there and we're all watching, and I'm just watching them like I've got like tear in my eyes. Yeah, it's dust, and it was that powerful because it kind of encompassed not only what the character went through, it was an image of what we as developers had done as well. At the beginning, we're all, let's do this. It's going to be an adventure. We're like that first cutscene where, with the party.
I'm actually getting goosebumps just from hearing him talking.
And that's us at the beginning, and then the release hits you, and you're down, and then you have that cutscene where it's just like everyone's working together to make something new, and then it failed, but no, it didn't fail, and all of the memories from the past years, the good and the bad, kind of all come together. And just so overwhelming, and that's pretty much the reaction when we finally release it to the public. That we got so many people. I just remember the forums, checking out the forums that day. People were just like, I've been in tears all day. I've watched it 10 times, and to see that, that everyone felt the same way. It wasn't just the development team. It's that you have this hardcore group of very, very loyal fans that. They believed in the game, we believed in the game, we stuck together, we were able to build this new thing that's not just for us, but it's opening up the doors for a whole new audience. But, remember, we were there first, we're the ones that, that stood by it, we're the ones that did this, and, they have the pride in that. Those players, those warriors of light that were, the before Meteor guys, Yoshida-san, in interviews, will always talk about those people that supported us, and we couldn't have done it. It sounds so cliche. Oh, we couldn't have done it without your support. Literally, we could not have done it. Literally, we could not have done it. If there was those people hadn't remained, we would just be like, no, let's forget it. We're not going to do it. We wouldn't have put as much effort in. It would have just been okay. Yeah, whatever. That's just free to play.
Back when 1.0 came out, could you have imagined that 3-4 years later you'd be in a fan event with thousands of people in Germany?
No, I don't really imagine that. Yeah, I mean, one day, I mean, yeah, we were, I mean, always saying one day we want to run a big fun event. We were, I mean, actually dreaming to have a huge fun festival in the future at that time. But actually, yeah, we made it. So that was really great.
Some dreams come true.
Yes, yes.
まあ、ただ自分スクエア7位んですけれども、あんまり変な言い方ですけど、会社に対して帰属意識というか、なんかそこはあまりなくてですね、やっぱりゲーム作るって誰と一緒に作るかがすごく大切で、そこが一番重要だなと思っているので、今回のプロジェクトは本当に組んでみたいというスタッフと組んですごく大きなことになって、すごい楽しかったし楽しいですねって感じではい。
まあ強調したいことが
No,
あ
I
る
don't
とすれ
think
ば、
any other company would have done that.
その
It would have
初日
just let it die, bleed it
1.0
out.
の話をしてましたけど、誰か一人もしくはデベロップメントチームがということではなくて、やっぱり今でも本当に会社自体の大きな過ちがその全ての悪い部分がファイナルファンタジー14で出てしまったっていう、まあそれはリリースって意味のデータではなくて、それが全て爆発したのがファイナルファンタジー14のオリジナルバージョンだったんじゃないかって本当に強く思ってるので、でも今まあ、14のリバンプを会社全体としてやって15がリリースできて、スクエニは少しずつ変わってきたと思ってるし、もっと変わらなきゃいけないと思ってる。もしかすると少し安心してる人たちも今いるのかもしれないけど、まだまだ変わらなきゃいけないと思ってるので、なんかそのあたりがうまく伝わってるといいなとは思います。これはなんだろう、スクエアエニックスっていう会社が作るゲームに期待してもらってる人が世界中にたくさんいると思うんですけど、僕もそうだったから、でもまだまだスクエアエニックスってこのレベルじゃないじゃん、もっと上いけるじゃんって思ってくれてるはずなので、そのためにはもっと変わらなきゃいけないし、チャレンジ
Yeah,
もしなきゃいけないと
true.
思って
But besides those two games, I don't think I've heard of any other situation where
要
that
素も
happened.
今回のそのお話でうまく伝わってくれると嬉しいかなとは思います。僕らはそういうつもりでやってますっていうメッセージが少しでも出ていけばいいなとは。プレイヤーの皆さんと会社が望めばそうなってると思いますし、プレイヤーの皆さんや会社が他のゲームも作れって望んでくれれば他のゲーム作ってるかもしれないですし、両方一緒に同時にやってるかもしれないし、僕は少なくともスクエアエニックスって今会社の、スタッフで自分の会社なわけではないので、やっぱプレイヤーの皆さん、ファンの皆さんがスクエアエニックスに何を期待するのかっていうのを会社がどう考えるかだと僕は思ってるので、まあ、もちろん自分で作ってみたいゲームがないわけじゃもちろんないですけど、まあ、好きなものを作りたいなら会社辞めて自分で会社作ればって思っちゃうんで、まあ望まれる限りは頑張ろうと思います。そろそろね、プロデューサーとディレクターのどっちかは誰かやってくんねえかなって思いますけどね。
The tale of the death and rebirth of Final Fantasy XIV Online is a cautionary tale in corporate hubris. It's a story about the power of humility, respect, and unity. A fun story for those of us who knew nothing about it, cherished times for those who were fortunate enough to be there when it all happened, and a wonderful reminder of something we come across so often in life, the idea that reality can often be even more amazing than the fantasy.
that again in my own time. So I can get the subtitles as well. Yeah, probably, though I think I'm gonna have to push my main story first. Or I can do a whole lot of leatherworking and to craft all of the outfits, but I don't really know, to be honest. There's so much I want to do currently, it's actually absurd. Yeah, pretty much, though. Speaking of No Man's Sky.
Sponsored by that game everyone loves.
Scientists are racing to unlock the secrets of the cosmos. Questions we once thought impossible to answer are within our grasp. Where does the sun go at night?
Is math related to science?
If the universe is so big, then why won't it fight me?
As we look further into the universe, we see light from distant stars, eons old, perhaps hundreds, even thousands of miles away.
Hold on, can I get a zoom in on that?
You bet I can. This is one of the world's most powerful telescopes. Initiating 6 times zoom.
Can this baby do 7?
I can do you one better. Maneuvering to 8 times zoom.
Pressure rising, holding steady. I can see it. Unblur.
It won't hold.
Get me 8.5 times.
You're a
Internet
madman.
historian. His videos are always
Upscale
great.
it to 4K.
The helium tanks will go critical.
Opening the blinds. Hold her steady.
Love his humor.
Uncropping and increasing aspect ratio. Now, punch it. There it is. Life on another world. And to think, we owe it all to one indie development studio. Hello Games.
Let's start at the beginning. Yeah, it's rewind time. Okay, the year is 2009, Guildford, England. There's a man named Sean Murray, and he's just founded a company called Hello Games. Sean and the boys are working hard on a brand new IP called Joe Danger. 2010 AD. The game just came out. It's a success. They're a small team, but they are ambitious. Let's do something bigger, said Sean. Let's reach for the stars. How about Joe Danger 2? Brilliant. It's 2012. Joe Danger 2 has just come out. That one doesn't perform as well. We need to do something even bigger than Joe Danger 2. Joe Danger 3? No. Even more out of this world. Something no man has done before. Joe Danger the mobile game? Yes! And that came out in 2014. Seriously guys, biggest thing you can think of. I'm just a stock image, dude. Why don't you think of something? Sean pondered for a moment, then turned and looked wistfully into the mirror. Reflected back was the visage of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
If you're gonna make a space game, first person, it's never been done before. How about that? I'm going up in orbit to repair the Hubble telescope. That's not a knife. Who are you gonna have sex with? How much microwaves are coursing through your body now?
The planet, said Larry. Space game. Procedural generation. Planet. Okay, that sounds good. Yes, we all agree. So they set to work, cobbled together a prototype, and by VGX 2013, they are ready to announce another new IP. No Man's Sky. Check it out. It's 2014, and it's E3 hype time. No Man's Sky has promised to be a game like no other. A practically boundless experience vibrant with life and color and things to explore. What's over there? You'll have to be the one to discover it. And then, wow, look at that big f***ing dinosaur, holy shit. And a moment later, we're in space having a battle amongst a giant fleet. Claim a planet as your own. Explore the galaxy with your friends. Okay, that's it. This is gonna be the best game ever, you guys. It even won awards for its hype. And it will release in June 2016. The hype train was officially loading up and ready to chug out of the station. At every stop of the journey, there would be press junkets talking about the amazing scale of the game. Spread across 18 quintillion planets. It's so vast that by the time you finish exploring it all, I would have 2 new videos published. Sean himself was doing the interviews, because who is better to talk about the game than the lead guy himself? He went from interview to interview, and with each question, the answers he gave raised people's expectations of the game's scope.
Can you land on a comet? Yeah, at the moment you can land on asteroids.
You could encounter other players.
Can you grief other players? A little bit.
They're literally building your own massively multiplayer world that's procedurally generated.
Sand planets like in Dune, rivers, walking sentinels, hacking. So sophisticated that light diffracts through the atoms. They had to redevelop the whole periodic table to make it work. What? Even Elon Musk was hyped for it. 2 years go by. It's early 2016, and that hype train is really moving now. Perhaps one of the biggest in video game history. Reddit was shoveling most of the gamer fuel. Skeptics and naysayers are treated as ballast and thrown from the carriage doors. Pre-orders open, and they are doing very well. The date is booked in. Some are even taking the day off work. So much hype there is that... Uh-oh. Jason Schreier of the soon-to-be-defunct Kotaku is about to spoil the party. He announces a delay. from June 2016 to August.
Oh my god!
Liar, the incensed audience cries. Please be quiet, they said. And death threats too. But he was 100% right. A week later, the delay is officially announced. Ooh, sorry lads, we need more polish, said Sean in his usual accent. To that, Sean received some death threats too, by the way, although he didn't take them as seriously or go to the police. Yet.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
But the impatient crowd relaxed a bit and said, fine, we will wait. But we expect a level of polish no man has ever seen. Speaking of waiting, Shadow Man here. Have you heard of Raidy Shady? My wife died in a plane crash. Hey, let's get serious for a moment. Raid isn't just a game with 15 million downloads in the last 6 months. It's a lifestyle. Think differently. Play Raid differently. Achieve your dreams. I'm sorry, sir. You've contracted Raids. That's good. Congratulations, it's Gorgorub of the Undead Horde.
My life, Bonezu.
You've just collected one of over 400 champions. Why, hello there. Have you heard about the online RPG PvP? It's extremely well reviewed on the Play Store. Oh, you remind me of my wife. Raid is more than just a game. It's a reassuring pat on the back from your dad. It's a warm bowl of soup on a cold night. It's one last dance at your wife's funeral. If you haven't played in the arena yet, I'm gonna break into your house. You're all getting Raid for Christmas, kids. Yay! And if you download now, kids, using the link in the description below, you can get an extra 50k silver and an epic champion. Wow, you're the best dad ever. Wait, Mum's dead?
Raid Shadow Legends.
Ad over. So let's talk about the team in charge of all that polishing. It's small. Tiny. In fact, I haven't been able to find a smaller team behind a AAA release. All of these expectations are on the shoulders of just 6 people, expanding to a team of 15 by the end of production. July. It's just a couple of weeks until the release date. Whatever the state of the game by now, however much it's finished, that's what's going out. The Hello Games team celebrates with this iconic image.
The quintessential soy face.
They're exhausted. Look at what video game production does to a man.
God, what's wrong with your face?
Nonetheless, they continue, working on the day 1 patch, and... Sean, if your game isn't coming out for another 2 weeks, then why is there a box copy on eBay? That's right, it's a leak. Someone broke the embargo and is selling early access to the highest bidder, and the bids start rolling in. It reaches $1,300 US, sold to some guy with the Reddit handle Damien. He gets his hands on it and starts uploading footage to YouTube and Dailymotion.
What? What the frick?
Said Sean and Sony. Damien finished it a lot quicker than expected, but he gave it a decent review.
There are things I don't like, there are things I like, but at the end of the day, when I say to myself, what is this game supposed to be? This, what I'm looking at right here, this is what the game is supposed to be.
He noted a few problems, but said he was optimistic that they would be ironed out with the day 1 patch. Sean? It's another leak. Some retailers broke the official release date. Journalists too. And they started streaming playthroughs of the game. What the? Sony tried to DMCA all these videos, but their aim was terrible.
Round of applause, everyone. We've officially become No Man's censored by Sony.
Our news story from earlier this week about No Man's Sky leaks has been hit with a copyright strike on YouTube.
They went bumbling around from platform to platform, just taking down any video that even talked about the leak or showed the trailer footage. But it was too late. The footage had people talking more skeptically about the game. Especially because there were no early review copies.
That's bad.
And it was looking like the weight of all these expectations had become too much.
and the whole thing was about to give. Oh no. It's August. Everyone's here. We've all bought the game and we're fucking hyped. Here we go, lads. Oh dear Lord, it isn't finished. Hello, Sean. It is me, the auditor of games. I used to work at an astronomy lab. Don't worry about that. It seems like you've made a lot of promises. Promises that you have not kept. Let's go through the checklist. Have you got any large-scale joinable space battles?
Nobody would want that.
Ringed planets?
No.
Fine. Well, at least let me play as a trader.
Some may call this junk. Me, I call them...
No.
Those sand planets from June look nice. Think I might... Please, Sean, there must be rivers.
No, it's not.
Animals interact with each other in the environment?
No.
Packs of walking sentinels, Sean.
No.
I'm literally crying right now. Should I even ask whether I can play as a space pirate?
No.
Factions with different attributes.
You picked the wrong house, fool! Oh!
Fly between star systems manually.
But nobody's actually done it yet.
If I can maneuver like in the trailer, I'll still be happy.
No.
Well, day-night cycles determined by the orbit of the sun.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Land on an asteroid, radio chat, and name your ship, hacking, portals, all that stuff about the elements, Sean.
No.
This is not good, Sean. This is very not good.
And ironically, the only bugs this game doesn't have are the butterflies in the demo.
Buried buildings, aggressive emojis, tractor beam malfunctions, animal husbandry, oil slick world, raining grass, retarded animals doing retarded things. Ship's interiors disappear, first-person mode as a gun. That's not how flying works. That's my only means of transportation, leaving the planet. Take off. Really take off. Holes in the map. Holes in my graphics card. Whole lot of nothing from down here. Textures bugging out, animals bugging out. Animals break dance. Look at these busy hands. Hello there. And a couple of unrequested ejector seats. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. I get the picture. No wait, poor graphics rendering. Some can't even start the game. Frame rate issues, constant crashes. Major publications are having trouble playing the game on their machines. Even the best 1080 Ti's are stuttering. Alt-tabbing? That's a guaranteed crash. Desktop notifications? That's a crash. Playing the game? That's a crash. Changing options in the game without restarting? You'll get this. And if you got the pre-order version with the bonus spaceship, you might have a problem. Your special ship already comes with a hyperdrive inside it. Great, right? No, because you have to craft it in order to finish the tutorial missions. And if you haven't finished the tutorial missions, you can't leave the star system. So whoops, until they patch it, you're stranded.
That's why I give my kids No Man's Sky. The fool.
What's up?
Ah, my ship's in bits! Okay, thank you.
Just a quick note about how high expectations
problems than
were
you
for
expected.
this game, and just how many people bought it on release, myself included. Over 750,000 purchases on
Yeah, it was
Steam
bad.
at launch. It's the single best-selling game on the PlayStation Store that month. And the large proportion of people who bought it in the hopes of playing with their friends, well, you're in for a surprise. This one is a literal game changer.
Is it even possible to meet up with your friends in No Man's Sky?
I
The
played
answer
it
is
shortly after
absolutely
release,
yes.
and it was
Possible.
basically
On
unplayable.
multiple occasions, Sean said it was definitely in the game.
Will you be able to play with your friends?
Yeah.
Can you run into other people, other players on the game?
Yes.
But then just before the release, Sean posted this cryptic tweet. To be super clear, No Man's Sky is not a multiplayer game. Please don't go in looking for that experience. Oh, what? So there's no multiplayer function? But then the next line contradicts that. Because the chances of two players ever crossing paths in a universe this big is pretty much zero.
Oh, so it is multiplayer. You just have to overcome this finding each other hurdle.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah! Right? No, it's more confusing than that. Because the box doesn't mention online play.
I haven't
just
played that in
network
forever.
features. And the collector's edition had its online play icon stickered over. So customers are going, which one is it, Sean? Just tell us if it has multiplayer or it doesn't have multiplayer. Sean wouldn't give any answers. But after hundreds of thousands of purchases, people soon took it upon themselves to find out. Despite the claims that it would be so improbable.
Chances that are incredibly rare, just because of the size and vulnerability.
On the very first day, two people noticed they were only 4 star systems from one another, and they met up on the same planet in a live stream. Oh dear.
A black pillow.
Our streams are.
And that is another
exactly
game I
lined
could in
up.
theory
Look at my
play with
stream,
community
we're looking at the
members.
exact same area right now, if you don't-
Yep, that's the same spot. And they can't see each other.
I'm alone!
That settles it. It's not multiplayer because it's so big. It's not multiplayer because it's just not fucking multiplayer. And this led to quite a revolt. What did Sean have to say about all this? So amazing, two people found each other on the first day. That has blown my mind.
So why can't we see other players in game?
Wow, so many of you playing.
Yeah, Sean, but what?
Truly amazing. My mind is blown.
So what's the game actually like?
Is it any good? That is a difficult thing to say.
Well, it certainly is stylish and pretty, and there are a lot of places to explore. But that doesn't mean there's much to find. In fact, the game boils down to a very simple loop. Hold down the trigger to pick up resources, deal with a full inventory, get an upgrade, leave the planet, go to another planet. Hold down the trigger, deal with a full inventory, get an upgrade, leave the planet, go to another planet. Hold down the trigger, deal with a full inventory, leave the planet, go to another planet, deal with a full inventory, get an upgrade, leave the planet, go to another planet. That's it. $60, ladies and gentlemen.
Refuel your multi-tool, refuel your life support, refuel a separate part of your multi-tool that shoots bullets instead of the mining beam, refuel your launch thrusters. It's busy work that makes it look like you have something to do. It's not real.
How dare you?
What followed was one of the most dramatic crashes in player numbers in gaming history. Sales in the UK fell by 81% in the second week. Concurrent players on Steam dropped from 212,000 in August to just over 2,000 by September and fewer than 1,000 by October. And what followed that was perhaps the biggest pylon in gaming history. Reviewers on YouTube panned the game.
Oh, for fuck's sake! You done fucked it up!
I had no hype, and I can tell you that, even without that disappointment, this game is hot garbage.
Has anyone coined Sean Mourinho?
Numerous times within the first 2 hours of the game, I kept saying, this is it, fuck this shit.
Reviewers in the media were almost as harsh.
Devastating realization that most of the crafting, combat, and other activities you do on and between those planets ranges between bemusing and outright bad.
The criticism was deafening. And a lot of it really funny and creative. Cat made a video that captured the sentiment of that day, and if you haven't seen it yet, you're missing out. So people are furious. The game is boring, and soon people discover that complaining about the game is actually more fun than playing it.
Wait, I'm now 3.5 hours into the tutorial, pretty much.
So they started complaining about it like they were grinding for an achievement.
This sucks.
Fucking Minecraft in space!
Many people made compilations of all the unfulfilled promises. One guy on the subreddit compiled a big list of all the missing features. Front page. Got a defense for No Man's Sky? Enjoy your downvote. In fact, the entire No Man's Sky subreddit was in such disarray it had to be locked. So by the end of the month, Metacritic was like scrolling through a bowl of Cheerios. By October, it was one of the worst rated games on Steam, with an aggregate of mostly negative from more than 70,000 reviews. The outrage at the game was headline news for weeks on dozens of games news publications, and the price on eBay and Amazon and secondhand at GameStop was crashing through the floor. Oh, please, no more. But the beatings had only just begun. The demo planet was data mined and found to be, of course, totally scripted and not randomly generated at all.
I've just got to pick one of these at random. If anything horrible goes wrong, just keep in mind that I've not been here before.
It wasn't some level that we built or something like that, even though I think it looks quite nice in places.
People watching this would wonder why you're showing this area again. Like, what's so special about demoing the game on this planet?
Oh, no, it's just a place that looks nice.
No, bad Murray.
I could have ended the demo with some, pre-scripted crazy thing that would happen.
Caseville.
You know what I mean? The normal thing of like, and then a monster emerges from behind the mountains,
Has been.
People see what's going on with the game and feel lied to.
Hey Swan.
This is false advertising, they say, and angry customers start scoping out a lawsuit. On September 28th, the ASA busts through the door and goes, "Yep, too many complaints. We're going to investigate." But then soon after,
Why
the
is that
ASA
so
cleared them
difficult?
of any legal wrongdoing. Technically, the only thing they're interested in is what's on the back of the box, what's on the store page, and what's on the Steam page. So it's technically not false advertising. But of course, technically not illegal doesn't mean much to an angry audience. October 28th, Hello Games Twitter is hacked. The hacker posts, "No Man's Sky was a mistake," and is shitting on the game in the replies. Turns out Sean didn't use two-factor authentication on his LinkedIn, and that's how they got in. They also sent discrediting emails to journalists, which they knew would rile people up if published. Some people even show up to their offices to take photos and knock on the door, even at night and on the weekend. They posted empty pictures of the office, so, naturally out of context, this started rumors that Hello Games simply took the money and ran. This in addition to numerous bomb and death threats during that period.
Miss you.
Those ones Sean did have to take seriously.
Regular intervention from police and Scotland Yard and things like that.
Nice to see you.
Sony didn't quite throw them under the bus. It was more like a gentle push under a minivan, when Sony President Shohei Yoshida admitted that Hello Games did not have a great PR strategy for No Man's Sky. The press took the ball with that one and ran.
Did you not sleep well?
Despite all of this, all of the negative press, they were actually nominated for a couple of awards. But by this point, Murray and the other members of Hello Games were so downtrodden and so sure they weren't going to win that they opted to go elsewhere for dinner.
And the Innovation Award goes to No Man's Sky. This lovely trophy going once.
Whoops.
I'm going to accept this on behalf of Hello Games, and congratulations to them. And I'm going to walk off stage like I planned that whole thing.
By this point, you've got to feel just a little bit sorry for them. And then what followed that was the final straw for many. No particular incident, but a lack of incidents. Silence. Over 3 months of not a damn word from No Man's Sky. Where are they? Where is my refund? Where is Murray?
So you just didn't sleep enough, huh?
The game was over. And it was dead. The year is 2000 AD. Sean has just graduated from university and is headed into the big wide world. He rises up the ranks at a number of studios, eventually working as a technical lead for Black and technical director for Burnout 3. When Burnout's developer is bought by EA, he is in his late 20s. And he and 3 of his buddies decide to leave and start their own studio, Hello Games. This was a risky venture.
So we'd done this incredibly foolish thing of like quitting our jobs, and then we had to sit down and try and decide what the game was going to be.
Together they create their first title, Joe Danger. They work on this game day and night. In fact, even once they were arrested in their own office because the police thought they were there to rob the place, because who would be working at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night? But they had to work that hard. Like any startup, it was a huge financial and professional risk. They had no income. They were working in a tiny room above an old tile shop, living off savings. And to keep the project running, Sean even sold his house.
So we made a really tough.
Well, then
and
I guess you
probably,
better get some
at the
better
time,
sleep
seemed
later,
really foolish
huh?
decision. It's kind of almost embarrassing for me to talk about. I sold my house and just basically went all in and funded what we were doing, which is not something I would recommend anyone else do.
But by June 8th, 2010, they had done it. The game was good, and they could breathe a sigh of relief because on the very first day it hit the PlayStation Store, they made their money back. 2 years later, Joe Danger 2 was released. It was not the commercial success they had hoped for, and they didn't want to just keep pumping out sequels. That was a trap big players in the industry had fallen into. In his spare time, Sean started working on a prototype for a procedurally generated game. They took another gamble and scrambled to get a trailer out in time to present at VGX 2013.
No, not really. I don't follow my own advice.
So the project is official now, and the pressure is on. Around this time, Sean is also looking to start a family. Concurrent to all this development, he would go on to have 3 kids, so the weight of responsibility is really piling on. But their hard work will pay off, as they're finally going to have a chance for some R&R around Christmas.
They woke up to find their homes flooded, their cars submerged, and their plans for Christmas Day very much ruined.
Bad news. Rain. Rain and flooding in the south of England, right around the Hello Games office. They are completely inundated and they return from their holidays to find laptops floating around at waist height. But some good news, they hadn't lost any data. So they pull together, soldier on, development continues. So there they are, working in a damp office, and then ding dong. Ooh, who's at the door? It's Danish mathematician Dr. Johan Gerlis. He's seen the game, and he says, "They are using my super formula," in perfect English, and there is a potential for a lawsuit. Sean says they didn't, and he can prove it. So they have a meeting, and the claim is eventually dropped. Lawsuit evaded. So back to work, guys. Ding dong. It's Sky Television. They've seen the game.
You are infringing on our Sky trademark,
they said in perfect text-to-speech. They had succeeded in getting Microsoft to change SkyDrive to OneDrive, and they were about to give gamers No Man's 1 under threat of lawsuit. But this lawsuit didn't just go away. The threat loomed over them for the next 3 years, right up until the month before release. So they get back to work and ding dong. It's Sony with some good news for once. We like your game, kid. We want to feature it front and center and make you a big star. This could mean millions of dollars in additional revenue. They said yes. But along with it, a lot of press for this game would need to be done.
Yeah,
Being a small
absolute
team,
bullshit.
They didn't have anyone for PR. They had their designers, they had their developers, and that was about it. So it's up to Murray. Sean's in his early 30s now. Not super young, but relatively young, and inexperienced for this type of media circuit. This deal with Sony put extra pressure on. It set deadlines. It's not that it's Sony's fault, but they're locked in now with much less flexibility. So when May rolls around, and they have no option but to delay, even if they wanted to ask for an extra 6 to 12 months of development, which they really need, it's probably too much to ask for. So they extend from late June to August. Only 6 weeks. From here, you can predict what's going to happen to multiplayer and a bunch of other promised features. So here's how the hype happened. Scope of game, time, and here's the line which shows the reality of development. Progress is steady and ends in August 2016. Now here is the line of player expectations. It should start out here and follow along the purple, but the overhyping trailer comes out and puts us way up here. In this trailer, It features a bunch of things that Hello Games thinks they're capable of having in the game by 2016.
Pretty much. I have no idea how
That's
they
the first
managed to
big
get
mistake.
through with that.
Then it's announced for PlayStation, and it costs $60, and there's a collector's edition. Second, even bigger mistake. That puts us all the way up here. And I think this is the main problem, because price tags set expectations. For a $60 game, this was seriously barren and disappointing. Now, if they had put it out for $20 as an indie game or an alpha, no problem. But when they gave it the AAA treatment, people rightfully aligned their expectations with other games in that category. That is the main reason customers' expectations were so skewed. Then Murray went to interviews, exacerbating the problem. Every time he mentioned a feature of the game, even in passing, fans set their expectations to AAA heights for that feature. Now, some people think the interviews are the main problem. In my humble opinion, not so much. Most people never saw these interviews. It's not that rickety 12-foot ladder Sean's standing on that's the main problem. It's the 900-foot building he's perched it on in the first place. So the obvious solution here would be an official statement. Hey guys, look, don't expect a 10 out of 10. Expect more of a 5 out of 10. No, the publisher just sank an enormous investment of marketing and opportunity into the game.
What's wrong with you?
And that would be a huge middle finger to them. The publisher isn't going to make you hype the shit out of your game, but you can't talk it down either. So, it's kind of stuck up there. In some ways, during the interview, he tries to temper expectations, but it's limited.
Can you build a space station?
No.
But let's not gloss over the interviews. Sean is a technical guy. He's a developer. He's also the introverted type. And the big lights and the stuff on camera does not come naturally to him.
Is it super nerve-wracking to talk on stage at E3?
Yes. Yes, definitely. I personally find going on stage at E3 like the hardest thing I've ever done. That's something that I would have had in a nightmare before. You know what I mean? It's
literally
that
the
kind
hardest
of
thing you've ever done?
Yeah.
Still, he stepped up and took interviews for his game from 2013 to 2016. And the main thing people wanted to hear about were the features.
Can you have more than...
So every planet, will there be wormholes?
Right.
At what point do you get points or anything?
From these interviews, people took Sean to be a liar, a Peter Molyneux, or a chess club member out to sell his game at whatever reputation it cost. But I think the truth is more complicated than that. Sean and the team are indie developers working on a new IP. Their project and plans are constantly in flux. They have no idea how large chunks of the game are going to look, especially not a couple of years out from release. And crucially, Sean doesn't understand that something mentioned in 2013, even said in passing, is going to be seen as a promise in the year 2016, even if by then you've decided to cut it from the game. For example, orbiting around the sun.
Day has turned it out because the planet has actually rotated on its axis.
This originally was in the game, but it caused the player too much confusion. It kept being reported as a bug in the beta, as people left the planet and then returned to find everything different. But nonetheless, into the live compilation it goes. So while they're still essentially formulating the game, the media all want a piece of Sean and to report on features first. Conversely, Sean thinks the reporters might help him to temper down things by emphasizing that Hello Games is an indie studio. But that is not how journalism is done. This is how journalism is done.
Can you customize the look of your thing?
Sort of.
Full customization confirmed in No Man's Sky. Periodic table to create atmospheric particles that would diffract light at just the right wavelength.
I told you! The press kind of operates downstream from the community because things are click-driven as to what stories you get served and things like that. But a rumor would surface from Reddit straight to the front page.
There's all this hype, and the project has increased in scope dramatically and keeps increasing as the months go by until a point. They are close to the deadline and have to delay, and the reality of what they can achieve in the little time remaining is staring them in the face. They know they're not going to be putting out a finished game. They're worried,
there's nothing more they can do. And the fear that they will disappoint the audience is growing on Sean and the team.
I worry about, like,
Yeah,
disappointing
it's an
people.
absolute shit show nowadays.
Upon release, all of these clips are seen as proof that Sean is a liar. What doesn't help is his body language. I mean, it's kind of the body language of someone who is lying. And this is why I mentioned he's an introvert. Remember, he's a technical lead. Actually, a really good one. But not a salesman. Cut him just a little bit of slack, because this is simply how he talks. Here are some innocuous questions, and he answers them honestly.
The producers on No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I guess I'm a developer on it. I suppose the creator or something like that.
No, I really like making games. I don't necessarily love talking about it.
I think you did a good job.
Even though you guys are very nice.
But seriously.
Same body language. And Jesus Christ, they have him up on stage and in front of cameras and bright lights and on the goddamn Colbert Report. Try keeping your nerve on that. Nonetheless, free of that context, the clips have him cemented in the community as a liar. So the graph plays out right to release. And that graph, it's actually a track. And that track is what the hype train runs on. So it comes barreling up the hill. Instead of neatly pulling into the station, it comes crashing right through the roof. The disaster unfolds. They are absolutely shit on. So there were Sean and Hello Games, surrounded by the rubble of their former reputation. Punished Sean was at his lowest point, hated by the majority of the gaming community. But they were still alive, and they had made tens of millions of dollars. They were left with two choices. Take the money, start a new project, and be a pariah. A cautionary tale of the industry.
Feels like a middle
and
school
hated by the
essay.
gaming
Anything to fill the
forever.
word count.
Or pick themselves up, get back to work, and with potentially no profit motive, finish the game.
It allowed me to do something that I've always done in difficult times, whether it's crappy bosses that I've dealt with before or crappy situations in school growing up. I got my head down, I sat in front of a computer, and I made games, which is what I enjoy.
They picked number 2. So, here's the plan. The team is assigned to fixing bugs and the most obvious problems. Go. Sean tells the team to stop reading all the overwhelmingly negative feedback on the game, and he reroutes all of it to his personal devices. Emails, forum posts, Google News alerts, player feedback, it's all going directly to him now. Then he starts breaking that down into data sets. People who haven't bought the game, people who have bought it
Yeah,
and played it
I'm
for
kind
100
of glad
hours,
I don't really
people
follow
who
those
have
kinds of
returned it,
games.
etc. Then he starts compiling those complaints into usable data, focusing on the people with the most sincere experience of the game. Then we start making a big laundry list of all the things that need adding and prioritizing. First thing to fix is that full inventory. Then community mod support. Then a third thing, etc., etc. This is going to take an enormous amount of work to pull off, and they're not going to make the same mistake twice. So they would need to sharply adjust their PR strategy. Anything they said right now, an admission of guilt,
I've made a severe,
would be met with criticism. Denial, it's not that bad, would be met with criticism. Corporate speak, well, we endeavored to make the best game we could and we are proud of what we have, would be met with criticism. Half of the problems have been caused by speaking too much. So they were going to do a complete 180. Instead of adding more fuel to the fire, instead of accidentally promising fixes that might also not be delivered, they wouldn't speak to the press again.
Female traits we're talking about, I'd say that's a generalization.
They were going to speak to the community directly from now on. So they told the audience they were working on it and went completely silent. 1 day passed. No play. 2 days. A week. Have you heard from Hello Games? They just had this disastrous release. No, haven't seen it. I hope they're working on the game. 2 weeks. Dude, are you working on this thing?
Yeah,
Just
it's kind
ignore
of
them.
crazy
Just
how
work.
much people actually
3
follow
weeks.
those wannabe
Okay, what the
experts
fuck is
instead of
going on?
actually thinking for themselves.
A month. They took the fucking money and ran, didn't they? Didn't say anything. It's not going to help.
2 months. 3 months. By now, most people were convinced that the game was abandoned. They had made their money. It's all over. Then, after over 100 days of absolute silence, a tweet. Foundation. The first big patch.
It is me, Sean. No, go away, Sean. I am mad at you. It has been too long. But I bring you gifts.
His accent sucks. It brought base building, new game modes, farming, camps, and freighters, as well as a lot of bug fixes.
You will have to try harder than that, Sean, to win my love back.
It still fell well shy of the promised game. Too little, too late. So Sean left, returned to his team, and got back to work. A few more months went by, and then another tweet. Pathfinder. What the fuck?
Oh, it's you, Sean.
I bring you online base sharing, own multiple starships, starship specialization, multi-tool specialization and classes, permadeath modes, vehicles you can drive around in, and create racetracks for them too with time trials. Look at this.
Okay, that's pretty good. But I'm still mad, and there's still a ton promised that isn't in the game yet.
So Sean went away once more. A few more months went by. Knock, knock.
Oh, it's you, Sean. What's it now?
I bring you an overhaul to the storyline. New worlds, crashed freighters, space combat, terrain editing, portals, procedural mission system, interstellar trading, and joint exploration. By now, people were really starting to warm to No Man's Sky again, and to Hello Games.
The game has in many ways exceeded what was promised.
It's a substantially better game now.
No Man's Sky is back, baby!
People saw this was an honest effort to fix the game, and the number of employees working on it was growing, from a studio of 15 to 25. Sean Murray and Hello Games social media also started becoming more active and engaging with the audience. The subreddit was flourishing once more. The price of the game second-hand on Amazon, eBay, and GameStop was going up. Then a few more months went by. Next, a really big patch.
What the fuck? Oh my god. Holy shit, the big planet! I just got goosebumps.
To be super clear, No Man's Sky is not that. Here's the full and proper multiplayer experience. Ringed planets, third-person mode, character customization, a galactic atlas on an external website for the community, vast overhauls to base building and crafting and resources, and it also brought the game to Xbox. In fact, with the release of Next in July
that actually makes a lot of sense.
No Man's Sky was the 6th top-selling console game for the month. It climbed its way back into Steam's top 10. It reached nearly 100,000 concurrent players. It brought another $24 million across all platforms. Their Steam rating went from mixed to very positive. People were getting back on board in a big way, but they weren't done yet. Better creatures, weird underwater shit, discoveries in bases and environments and equipment, and it keeps going. New biomes, more diversity, archaeology, more things to discover. By now, Sean and the gaming inspector, personification of the gaming community, had literally patched things up and were making out on the couch. Which was when he released his biggest patch to date of this video.
Oh my god, yeah!
Free VR support. Not a whole other game you have to pay for, like some titles. Overhauls to NPCs, tech trees, base building, streamlined multiplayer, ride animals around. All sorts of stuff that was never promised in the first place. And they're still adding more stuff.
Someone at Valve, who was a fan of the game, said to me, what you do now is more important than what you say. There is only one thing that's credible, and that's your actions.
In fact, I was so slow to get this video out that they put out another patch the other day, with ship salvaging, ship upgrading, more advanced terrain editing, first-person exocrafts, improved VR, improved base building and inventory management, quality of life stuff. It goes on. Is it perfect?
Yeah, definitely, but it also shows how far the game has come since release.
But come on now, we're starting to nitpick. Especially when you compare them to relationships with other games companies. They could have gone the route of Fallout 76, paywall mods with Fallout first, charging a monthly fee, a downward spiral more and more into pay-to-win scraps released without QA testing. But instead, they never added pay-to-win. They never added microtransactions or paid DLC. They never made VR as a second game. They didn't give up on the game or scale their resources back to do it. They didn't come out and call all gamers entitled. They didn't add loot boxes. They didn't start work on the next big project or sequel. They didn't do much of anything except get back to work. And just like that, the game once panned by critics now had awards rolling in.
Your developed star 2019, No Man's Sky, Sean Murray.
No Man's Sky next.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky's next.
No Man's Sky.
And to cap it all off, the subreddit No Man's Sky the Game even got together and pooled money for a GoFundMe to have a billboard installed near the Hello Games offices. It must have been a harrowing moment for Sean and the team. They took a huge risk to start a small studio. They clawed their way up to create one of the most notable games of the console generation. Disappointed pretty much everyone with the release, and took one of the biggest online beatings in video game history.
Yeah,
for it.
it's another feel-good story.
Post-release, we faced some really difficult challenges. Everything that you can
And
imagine
nowadays you
from,
really
like, the
don't get
worst
many
of
of
the
those.
internet, we hit.
But then, over the course of the next 3 years, completely turned it around and came out the other side with a win. It's the underdog story. And after doing all of this research, I couldn't help but come to the conclusion that they were the good guys. So what is the future for Hello Games? In 2017, they announced Hello Labs, a support program focused on original titles and games using procedural generation. Two of the team also branched off to work on a small title called The Last Campfire. But for the foreseeable future, they're just working on No Man's Sky. Alright, I didn't want to finish the video on like a big sappy note. So, this is the end of the story, but there's still another few minutes. Don't leave, it's not an ad. Okay, in 2015, when the hype was at its peak, someone wrote a Sean Murray erotic.
Yeah, no problem. I think I'm gonna have to leave soon.
Fan fiction. And, naturally,
He thunders.
If you found this tape, it
Going
means
well.
that
We're in
everyone
Sweden
is
right now.
dead. Or working at a different office. How did this happen? Well, I'll tell you. Buckle up, buckaroos. Today's lesson is the misfired launch of Fallout 76. June 2018. It began with everyone getting just a little hyped up.
Have we waited long enough, guys?
Oh God, yes we have, Todd.
I think we have.
Fallout 76, Bethesda's biggest game yet. My God, it was exciting. And they promised we'd know more at E3. E3 hype time.
How are you,
The
Sanders?
press conference.
16 times the detail.
16 times the detail. All new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology.
4 times the map size.
It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. And it's
Yeah,
our
he's
biggest
amazing.
one yet.
Probably my
God, it
favorite
was
content
exciting.
creator.
November 14th, 2018. The game goes live with a day 1 patch of 50 gigabytes.
For fuck's sake. I'll see you tomorrow.
But once that's downloaded, people start logging into the hellscape that is Fallout 76. And oh dear lord, they never fix the bugs. And there are so many of them.
Nice to hear that.
Goodbye world, goodbye necks, goodbye body, goodbye heads, bugs, bugs, bugs everywhere. Server crashes, game crashes, old bugs imported from Fallout 4. Use more than one nuke at a time, server's dead. Text is far too texturous, an all-consuming void. Error log 307. Can't pick up stuff, can't stop asserting dominance with a T-pose, frame rate problems, screen tear problems, getting too swole, getting underneath the map, getting attacked by invisible enemies, spawning too many enemies.
Kind of speaks for itself.
Spawning too many god rays. Also, your camp resets after every session, and sometimes it goes underwater. Holotapes randomly play static, but too many holotapes mean none of them will play. Enemy AI is far more A than I. Animations are broken. Surprise! Floating objects and a traveling merchant. Just to name a few. Joseph Anderson has a great video that documents just the ones that he found personally. That video is 3 hours long. But it gets worse. Error CE348780 can corrupt your data and force you to reinstall the game and console operating system. A few PC players had their computers brick entirely. Also, when the date rolled over to the 1st of January 2019, the nukes in the game stopped working altogether. No one thought it prudent to program in other years in an always online game. And a few players were straight up logging into other people's accounts. This guy had a level 78 character that was randomly replaced with a level 8 character. Bethesda said they couldn't do anything about it. Many players are not thrilled with this game, and they want Bethesda to know that. And they want everyone else to know that too. But Bethesda owns the platform. Is Fallout 76 fun?
Yes, it is. Banned for racism. Thread locked.
They had no direct outlet for their rage. The only solution was to put a torch to everything else. Reddit, Twitter, Bethesda's other games on Steam. The backlash was immense. But surely level heads would prevail. The reviewers would come out and say that the game isn't so bad. Oh dear lord, they hate it. This is so sad. Despacito, play Country Roads.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River.
And the YouTube community had this to say.
It's really f***ing boring.
Could barely bring myself to play it in order to finish this review.
No one on staff wants to play any more of this video game. I'm not gonna subject myself to another 20, 30 hours of this fucking mess.
In short, Fallout 76 is morally, technically, and creatively bankrupt.
The mods on Bethesda forums were working overtime. The mods on Reddit almost gave up. Look, I'm not saying that some people didn't enjoy and have fun with this game. But what I am saying is that the Metacritic was really funny to read. So what happened? Well, it came out that development was hugely rushed. The deadlines were tight. Too tight. Plus, this wasn't Bethesda's A-team. It's actually a relatively inexperienced division based in Austin, and the scope of the game kept getting bigger.
We're gonna need distant weather systems.
Hey Todd, I stayed up all night and I just finished.
We're gonna need 16 times the detail.
Please, Todd, no more.
We're gonna need 4 times the size of Fallout 4.
That, and they were trying to patchwork the old Bethesda creation engine into a multiplayer framework. What else could you expect?
That's why I give my kids Fallout 76.
Now, Bethesda could tolerate the bugs and the bad reviews and the irate players, but what they couldn't tolerate were the exploits.
Infinite inventory, infinite invisibility. The frame rate was tied to the game speed, so people were going a lot faster than they should. Server hopping for more items, infinite cache and infinite duplication, unlimited XP, unlimited nuking. The nuclear codes were unencrypted and you could wall clip into the quest room. And someone was given the curse of infinite invincibility. Naturally, this can really mess with other players' online experience. So Bethesda was ready, with the ban hammer and a blindfold to wildly flail around and take down anyone who happened by. But Bethesda wasn't satisfied with just banning it. No, they're a progressive company with big ideas. They wanted to give a road to redemption. So support sent out this email to players caught cheating. We would be willing to accept an essay on why the use of third-party cheat software is detrimental to an online game community. That's right, 500 words on why you're a very naughty boy, and they may just give you your account back. But a couple of days later, the mockery from news outlets caused them to reconsider this approach. One more exploit. In all the Bethesda games, there's a dev room. Every item in the game is kept here. Security has to be top-notch, because otherwise, someone could just waltz in and take all of the best items in the game, and it would be an absolute disaster. Well, shit. Of course, Bethesda wasn't equipped to deal with the issue. People started flooding in, taking the best items in the game, then selling those items on a black market of sorts. At first, they tried the usual approach.
Bethesda is an absolute disaster of a game company.
In the game. You spent 700 hours just to get the best gun? Die, cheater! Next, they put in a system where players would get tagged if they ever entered the room.
I still have no idea how they could have fucked up this badly.
People would just start using Smurf accounts. Get in quick with a level 1 account. Get all that good shit. Then get the fuck out. Then use a duplication glitch to get a ton more of those items. Then transfer that stuff to your main account and you're good to go. Bethesda then takes out this level 1 and calls it mission accomplished. And you've just beaten the game. So the problem continued. Bethesda is running out of ideas to solve it. There's a lot of speculation in the media and among players about how exactly people are getting in, but no one except for the exploiters knows for sure. That said, Bethesda needs to act fast before it ruins the economy of the game. So they wrote another email and sent it out to the Smurfs. Hello, cheater. Do you want to tell us how you did it, and we might unban you, please? Should we not hear back from you, the account will simply remain suspended. It's not known whether this approach worked, but from what I've seen, it's still possible to get into the dev room. November 22nd, 2018. Just a week after the release, the game goes on discount. From $60 to $40, to $35, to $30. You can find it for $15 on eBay, and in Germany they're straight up giving it for free when you buy a PlayStation controller. Also, some stores are just zip tying it to other products. But to Bethesda, it's worth selling the thing at a price close to zero, because it brings people into the atomic shop, which is where the real margins are, and it inflates the poor sales figures. Let's have a look at those. The latest figures show 76 sold less than a sixth of what Fallout 4 did. Not good. There's also been a massive oversupply of hard copies. Although what's the point of a hard copy when the thing is just a cardboard disc telling you to redeem an online code? And while sales are low, returns are high. Immediately upon release, people began asking Bethesda for a refund. 76 is not on Steam, it's on Bethesda's own platform, so they have all the control. If players only played the game for a few hours, then generally they'd get their money back. However, it came out that people were sometimes getting refunds after a full 24 hours of play. Quite generous, but then word about this spread to forums. Then to Reddit, and a post got 12,500 upvotes informing people that this made pretty much everyone eligible for a refund, and the comments told them exactly how to do it. Bethesda was flooded with requests for refunds. And their response? Shut it down, lads. No one gets a refund now. Everyone go home. Show's over. Robot customer service man engage.
Customers who have downloaded the game are not eligible for a refund. We apologize for the inconvenience. Die.
A few things followed. First, people got mad. One hardcore gamer even trashed a GameStop for refusing his refund.
bit of an overreaction, but probably also fake. Second, the media. And third, a class action lawsuit. Their inconsistent refund policy and terms of service may not be strictly legal. November 27th, 2018. Miglaccio and Rathod LLP filed a class action suit on behalf of customers. Media quickly picked up on that. Their main argument is that it's a sometimes unplayable game owing to its technical problems, then they're refusing refunds, and that Bethesda is engaged in a strategy to release it anyway and then slowly patch their way into a more playable state. Updates on this lawsuit are slow, so I'll keep you informed on the second channel. Ad time.
Look, there's a meteor headed straight to Earth. Oh my god. We must do something. Was anyone curious enough to read about it online? Not me. Not me either. Nope. Oh no! Now people think I'm dumb and I have died a virgin. Don't let this happen to you. Get Curiosity Stream. It's a streaming platform with some of the best documentaries and non-fiction from around the world. Partial nudity? Maybe if you look hard enough. But more importantly, the most arousing thing of all, knowledge. Works for your Roku, Android, etc., etc. It works on everything, okay? Science, nature, history, tech, society. CuriosityStream.com/internethistorian for unlimited access to the world's free top documentaries and non-fiction series. Use the promo code InternetHistorian during the sign-up process to get the first 30 days free, then cancel any time. Wink. Please. I need sponsors. I bought a lifetime supply of toilet paper thinking I was saving money, but then I left it out in the rain and the crows got it, and now I'm back to square one. Please. CuriosityStream.com/internethistorian. Ads over. Let's rewind a little bit. Fallout fans made their pre-orders, and the most dedicated pre-ordered the Power Armor Edition. Wow. It came with a helmet, box, map, army toys, and a genuine West Tech canvas bag. Fast forward to the release, and customers noticed that their precious bags, which are supposed to be made of the finest canvas and bland, look a bit different. In fact, it looks like a carry bag the real bag should come in. Did they really just advertise one thing and deliver another? Can't do that. So there was a surge of backlash, and people began emailing Bethesda, asking for refunds, asking for answers. By this point, customer service is absolutely over it. They are done with the facade, and they send this email in response.
Hello. We are sorry that you aren't happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype and was too expensive to make. We aren't planning on doing anything about it.
That's the whole email. Staff at Bethesda aren't even hiding their contempt anymore. Naturally, the internet goes wild.
Are you fucking kidding me? Wow. Wow. Well, I got so mad, I shaved everything off my face.
Well, I'm gonna have to call it here for today. I'm gonna go eat lunch with my parents. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Yes, you hopefully tomorrow. I don't know yet. I have to work again so. I'm not sure how tired I'm going to be tomorrow. Yeah, see you guys, bye. I'm definitely not gonna stress myself, don't worry.